Chapter 1019. Ruoshi replied with some helplessness, "It's the daughter of an old friend. He helped me a lot in the past, and since his daughter ended up in the Grand Essence realm, I couldn't help him. Besides, they even wanted to leave the wood origin bead with me, so I had no way to refuse." "What?" Ning Cheng almost grabbed Ruoshi's hand in excitement. Fortunately, he still managed to keep his wits about him and asked in a trembling voice, "You mean the wood origin bead? In your hands?" Ruoshi looked at Ning Cheng in doubt. The wood origin bead was indeed a top-grade treasure, but it shouldn't be this shocking. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He then cupped his fists towards Ruoshi and said, "Senior apprentice sister Ruoshi, I urgently need the wood origin bead. If the wood origin bead was with you, I would be willing to exchange anything with you." Ruoshi showed a slight smile. "First, the wood origin bead isn't with me. To make me believe it, they took out such a precious treasure and left it with me. In fact, how could I have the nerve to let them leave something with me? Second, even if the wood origin bead was with me, I wouldn't be able to exchange it with you. It's someone else who left it with me. It's not my own thing." Ning Cheng sat down in disappointment. "I was a bit reckless." Then he asked again, "What's the name of the person with the wood origin bead? Where is she?" Ruoshi, seeing Ning Cheng's anxious look, said, "Her name is Tian Muan. I don't know her, but you'd better not have any ideas about her. No one can afford to offend the friend beside her. Even the Tao Perfection cultivator from the Void Star sect whom you saved can't afford to offend. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Besides, I've also seen Tian Muan's wood origin bead. It's just a broken half of the bead. The value of the other half of the bead is much weaker." When Ning Cheng heard Tian Muan's name, he immediately understood what was going on. Ning Cheng also knew the blue-robed woman beside Tian Muan, who had saved the two of them once. Ning Cheng sighed and touched his nose. He didn't expect that the other half of the bead would be with Tian Muan. Since the wood origin bead was with Tian Muan, it would be difficult for him to obtain it. If it was someone else, he could use a large number of God crystals. If God crystals didn't work, he could use God spirit veins. If God spirit veins didn't work, he could use Tao fruits. If Tao fruits didn't work, he could use Tao pills, Dharma treasures, cultivation techniques. There would always be something that moved the other party. However, none of this had any effect on Tian Muan. If he really did this, it would only increase the gap between the two of them. Moreover, facing Tian Muan, he did not know how to open his mouth and ask for it. "It looks like you already know what I did." Ning Cheng spoke in a somewhat dejected tone. Ruoshi smiled faintly. "You made such a name for yourself at the Pill Exchange Conference and even saved a Tao Perfection powerhouse from the Void Star sect. If I didn't know about it, then I would have wasted my time in the Grand Essence domain." After hesitating for a while, Ning Cheng took out a jade box and handed it to Ruoshi before saying, "This is my child talisman. I'll lend it to you for the time being. You have to tell me how to return it to me in the future." Ruoshi not only saved him but also saved Yan Ji. As such, Ning Cheng did not hesitate to lend her a child talisman. Ruoshi, on seeing Ning Cheng really take out the child talisman for her, felt a trace of emotion in her eyes. She had also worked with Ning Cheng a few times, as such she also had some understanding of Ning Cheng's character. The reason why she saved Ning Cheng was because the two of them were cooperating, and she really appreciated Ning Cheng's character of repaying kindness. "I'm really embarrassed about this. When I saved your friend, I even took a bottle of Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills." Ruoshi felt a little embarrassed. Ning Cheng chuckled. "The value of a bottle of Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills is far less than a sacred essence fruit." For Yan Ji's aptitude to improve to this level, Ning Cheng knew very well how useful the sacred essence fruit that Ruoshi had given him was. Even if Yan Ji's foundation was damaged again, the role of the sacred essence fruit was irreplaceable. He did not have that kind of precious foundation Tao fruit. Okay, then I'll accept it. I live in the sacred Tao world's goddess' sacred shrine. I only heard that it was a realm separated from the absolute beginning realm after it shattered. But after I go back, I might not go to the sacred Tao world. Instead, I want to go to the Grand Change realm. I heard that you will represent the 5 realms in the pill competition, and we will most likely meet in the Grand Change realm. I will return it to you then. She put away the child talisman Ning Cheng lent her and spoke in a sincere tone. Ning Cheng nodded. He had never been to the sacred Tao world, but he had heard about the shattering of the absolute beginning realm. He knew that the laws in this place were no less broken than the Grand Essence realm. In fact, it was even more broken. At this moment, Su Ji and walked over, and Ning Cheng raised his hand to remove the restrictions once again. She received Ning Cheng's child talisman and felt much more at ease. Even if Su Ji and didn't want to tell her where the location was, she didn't care. Su Ji and cupped his fists and said to Shi, although I don't know where this Dao friend got the news, I ask the 2 Dao friends not to spread this matter. After saying that, Su Ji and handed a jade strip to Shi with both hands. Shi took the jade strip and nodded cautiously. Patriarch Su, you can rest assured that we won't tell anyone about this. Su Ji and said gratefully, many thanks, 2 Dao friends. He also sighed in his heart. He had already taken out the jade strip, but the other party didn't say anything. It was just a form of psychological comfort. Since the other party knew that the Su clan knew about this location, then someone else would know about it in the future. The Su clan's corner was too weak, and they couldn't afford to offend anyone. Shi saw Su Ji and's worries and smiled, although I know about it, it doesn't mean that others know about it. Patriarch Su doesn't have to worry. After saying that, she looked at Ning Cheng, junior apprentice brother Ning Cheng, if you have nothing to do, you can come with me. If you have something to do. Ning Cheng had long wanted to leave, so he quickly said, I'm fine. I'll leave with senior apprentice sister Shi later. After saying that, Ning Cheng took out 2 jade bottles and handed them to Su Ji and, Patriarch Su, here are 2 medicinal pills to repay junior apprentice sister Shiqian for saving us. I can't accept it. Su Ji and quickly declined. Ning Cheng knew about Su Ji and's cautious character and smiled, it's just 2 worthless medicinal pills. It's just a token of my appreciation. Seeing Ning Cheng speak in such a manner, Su Ji and could only accept Ning Cheng's medicinal pills and take the initiative to send Ning Cheng and Shi out of Su clan's corner. Grandpa, I feel that senior apprentice sister's cultivation level is very high. Su Shiqian, who stood next to Su Ji and, whispered after seeing Ning Cheng and Shi walk away. Su Ji and sighed, it's more than high. If I'm not wrong, that woman is probably at the 2nd step of Tao confirming. So strong. Su Shiqian's mouth opened wide with a look of shock. That Ning Cheng is quite grateful. He even gave me 2 medicinal pills before leaving. After saying that, Su Ji and put 2 jade bottles in Su Shiqian's hands, you can keep them. He didn't even look at the medicinal pills. Ning Cheng only had a Tao sculpting cultivation, so the medicinal pills he gave were naturally only for his granddaughter. Su Shiqian responded casually, took out the jade bottle, and immediately exclaimed in shock, miraculous crossing Tao pill, how is this possible? The miraculous crossing Tao pill was refined from the Tao fruit miraculous crossing sunset fruit. It was a Tao pill that enhanced Tao sculpting Holy Emperor's comprehension of the Tao raising Tao. The value of one was immeasurable. The reason why Ning Cheng gave this medicinal pill was for Su Shiqian. What? Su Ji and could no longer maintain a calm attitude. He grabbed the jade bottle in Su Shiqian's hand and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. Sure enough, it was a miraculous crossing Tao pill. He closed the jade bottle as quickly as possible and spoke with a trembling voice, hurry up and take a look at the other one. Without waiting for her grandpa to speak, Su Shiqian opened the other jade bottle and spoke with a trembling voice, "Purple Heaven Pill." This time, she didn't need her grandpa to teach her and took the initiative to close the jade bottle. The Purple Heaven Pill was a Tao pill that could help one comprehend the Tao transformation realm. It was even more precious than the miraculous crossing Tao pill. More importantly, only a Tao transformation pill sage could refine such a medicinal pill. Moreover, there were only a few Tao transformation pill sages in the entire Grand Essence realm. Ning Cheng had given out 2 such Tao pills at once. It was truly a huge gesture. Su Ji and took a deep breath. "Shiqian, the person you saved is definitely a very remarkable person. Maybe because my Su clan's corner doesn't have any dealings with the Grand Essence domain, we don't know about this person. Grandpa, should I inquire about him?" Su Shiqian's tone also sounded a little excited. She ran business for the Su clan all year round. How could she not know the value of these 2 Tao pills? Su Ji and shook his head. "No, don't inquire about this kind of person. From now on, I'm going into seclusion to attack the Tao transformation realm. With this Purple Heaven pill, I have a good chance of advancing to the Tao transformation realm. You also have to work hard in seclusion and try to use this miraculous Tao crossing pill to reach the Tao raising realm." "Yes, Grandpa." Su Shiqian's tone revealed how much she wanted to advance to the Tao nurturing realm. Her qualifications had always been top-notch. Unfortunately, her Su clan's corner couldn't compare to the big clans in the Grand Essence domain. Wanting a Tao pill was harder than ascending to the heavens, not to mention the precious Tao pill Ning Cheng gave her. Ning Cheng and Ruoshi had already arrived at a canyon filled with miasma. The divine grasses here were scarce, and with the miasma spreading everywhere, it made it impossible to cultivate. This was the place shown on the map given by Su Ji and "It should be here." Ruoshi stopped and handed the jade strip in her hand to Ning Cheng. "Senior apprentice sister Ruoshi, are you leaving now? Is everything over here?" Ning Cheng asked. Ruoshi nodded. "Yes, I've been out for a long time and have to go back. I'll try not to use this child talisman of yours. If I really can't go back, I'll use the child talisman. If there's a chance, we'll meet in the Grand Change realm." After saying that, Ruoshi took a step forward. But just as she was about to fall into the canyon, she suddenly remembered something and turned back to Ning Cheng. "Ning Cheng, a lot of powerhouses have come to Broken Thatch Spirit City recently. You've offended too many people, so you'd better change your appearance when you go to Broken Thatch Spirit City." "I know." Ning Cheng nodded. Even if Ruoshi hadn't mentioned it, he would have changed his appearance if he wanted to go to Broken Thatch Spirit City. Ruoshi took out a talisman and activated it, causing the laws of space to immediately turn chaotic. After a few breaths, she brought out the 9-petal lotus throne and blasted it into the chaotic space. Thin spatial ripples appeared in the canyon. Ruoshi raised her hand and tore it, and her figure disappeared without a trace. Chapter 1020. The most powerful person in Su clan's corner was naturally Su Ji En, but the most capable person was Su Ji En's granddaughter, Su Shiqian. In recent years, the businesses of Su clan's corner were all controlled by Su Shiqian. Under Su Shiqian's careful management, the Su clan's corner had accumulated some cultivation resources. Otherwise, the strength of Su clan's corner would be much worse than it was now. This time, after Su Shiqian returned, she decided to go into seclusion. Therefore, the business of the Su clan's corner was handed over to Su Shiqian's brother, Su Hui. After the family meeting, Yan Jinqing's face darkened as he asked Su Hui, "Brother Hui, do you know why grandfather asked little sister to go into seclusion and hand over the business to you?" Yan Jinqing was Su Hui's wife. Her aptitude was slightly inferior, but because she stayed in the Su clan's corner to cultivate in seclusion, she didn't need to run around like Su Shiqian. Therefore, her cultivation was not inferior to Su Shiqian's, and she had also succeeded in sculpting her Tao. Su Goe looked valiant, but his long face and thin eyebrows ruined his valiant appearance, making him look gloomy. Su Hui frowned slightly when he heard what his wife, Yan Jinqing, said in a rough voice. All these years, Shiqian has been running around outside while we've been cultivating at home. Now that Shiqian is going into seclusion, I, as her elder brother, naturally have to take over the business of Su Clan's corner. Could it be that I can still hand over the business of Su Clan's corner to outsiders? Yan Jinqing sneered, the business of the Su Clan's corner is suppressing us, and I don't have much opinion about it. It's just that Grandpa is very unfair this time. How is it unfair? Su Goe asked, staring at Yan Jinqing. Yan Jinqing took a deep breath. Do you know what Ning Cheng, who was brought back by Shiqian, gave to Grandpa? What is it? Su Hui asked subconsciously, completely distracted by Yan Jinqing's words. Yan Jinqing's spiritual sense carefully swept out, and then whispered, it's 2 Dao pills, one is the purple heaven pill, the other is the miraculous crossing Dao pill. What? Su Goe looked at Yan Jinqing in disbelief and repeated, you mean the violet heaven pill and the miraculous crossing Dao pill? Yan Jinqing rolled her eyes at Su Goe. Keep your voice down. Yes, these are the 2 Dao cores. When Grandpa and little sister sent off that Ning Cheng, I happened to hear it. Su Goe had already calmed down. He stared at Yan Jinqing. Grandpa is a Dao birth final stage holy emperor. Even if I don't mention Grandpa, little sister has been running around outside all these years. She shouldn't be so ignorant. How could she let you hear these words? Plus, Ning Cheng is just a Dao molding divine emperor. Why would he take out the purple heaven pill? What are you trying to do? Yan Jinqing bit her lip. After a while, she spoke up, how could Ning City have such a pill? I don't know about it. I left a monitoring array disk outside. I wanted to make my Su Clan's corner safer, but I didn't expect to accidentally overhear it. Su Hui said coldly, Jinqing, you didn't leave behind a surveillance array disk, did you? Immediately put away all these monitoring array disks. Yan Jinqing said aggrievedly, yes, Brother Hui. I'm just feeling unfair for you. You are the next patriarch of the Su Clan's corner. He also had the miraculous crossing Dao pill, but he actually gave it to Shiqian and forgot about you. As she said this, Yan Jinqing had completely forgotten where her cultivation resources and time had come from all these years. Su Hui's expression was somewhat ugly, but he did not answer Yan Jinqing's question. After Ning Cheng sent off Ruo Shi, he disguised himself as a middle-aged male cultivator with a face full of vicissitudes and arrived at Broken Thatch Spirit City. Rogue cultivators with a face full of vicissitudes and a void aura were everywhere in Broken Thatch Spirit City at the edge of the Grand Essence realm. Therefore, Ning Cheng didn't stand out at all. Arriving outside Broken Thatch Spirit City, Ning Cheng finally understood why this city was called Broken Thatch Spirit City. The broken spear was stabbed diagonally outside Broken Thatch God City. It looked very strange. The exposed part of the spear was more than 100 feet long, and its entire body was mottled. Although it had been a long time, when Ning Cheng saw this half-broken spear, he could still feel a faint hostility emanating from it. Ning Cheng quickly retracted his spiritual consciousness. This kind of hostility definitely had no benefits for cultivation. Once the hostility invaded his sea of consciousness, he wouldn't be far from cultivation deviation. People came and went outside Broken Thatch Spirit City, but few people would use their spiritual consciousness to scan the Broken Thatch Spirit City outside the city like Ning Cheng. Just as Ruoshi said, Ning Cheng saw a lot of powerhouses here. Not to mention many Dao birth and Dao transformation holy emperors, Ning Cheng even saw 1 or 2 Dao confirming second step Dao essence holy emperors. Ning Cheng didn't stay in a rest stop, nor did he take the airship to the Grand Essence Sea. Instead, he went straight to a merchant house. Since he had the Starry Sky Wheel, his speed definitely wouldn't be any slower than those airships. Since Broken Thatch Spirit City didn't have a long-distance teleportation array, he might as well go to the merchant house to buy a route map and head to the Grand Essence Sea alone. You said you want to go to the Grand Essence Domain or the Grand Essence Sea. Do you want to go to the Grand Essence Domain alone? The shop assistant looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. Although Broken Thatch Spirit City also belonged to the Grand Essence Domain, few people regarded it as the Grand Essence Domain. When it came to the Grand Essence Domain, it usually referred to the depths of the Grand Essence Domain, not the edge of the Grand Essence Realm. Ning Cheng asked in confusion. Yeah, what's wrong? The shop assistant was relatively honest and explained, this friend, I don't have a detailed route to the Grand Essence Domain, but I do have a simple map. I suggest that you take a void ship instead of going there alone. Why? Ning Cheng was even more puzzled. If he did not take the airship, then he would at most be a bit slower. The shop assistant sighed and said, if it was really that simple, then Duanmao God City's void flying ships wouldn't be able to find any business. From Broken Thatch Spirit City to the Grand Essence Domain, one had to pass through the Grand Essence Demon Vein and the Grand Essence Sea. The Grand Essence Demon Vein stretched for hundreds of millions of miles. Moreover, it contained countless powerful spirit beasts. If an ordinary person tried to cross the Grand Essence Demon Vein, it would be akin to courting death. It would take them a few months to cross the Grand Essence Demon Vein and the Grand Essence Sea. The place where the Grand Essence Sea and the Grand Essence Demon Vein meet is also desolate and uninhabited. If you want to pass through this Grand Essence Sea, it's also filled with many dangers. For most people, passing through this place is no different from courting death. Ning Cheng sucked in a mouthful of cold air. He had thought that it would only be a long journey, he had never thought that there would be such a dangerous journey in between. How did Ruoshi come over in the first place? Why didn't she mention the dangers? Ning Cheng quickly understood that Ruoshi must have thought that he knew about it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have said that he had to change his appearance to enter Duanmao God City. Moreover, she didn't feel much surprise when he said that the purpose of going to Duanmao God City was to return to the Grand Essence Domain. Seeing Ning Cheng not speaking, the shop assistant tried to persuade him again, those void airships have fixed routes. Moreover, they have negotiated with the powerhouses of the Grand Essence Demon Vein. Even so, many void airships have died to the Demon Vein spirit beasts for various reasons. Therefore, the price of going to the Grand Essence Sea or the Grand Essence Domain is very high. Ordinary people simply can't afford it. Ning Cheng finally understood why no one in Su Clan's corner knew about him despite his great reputation. Many thanks. Since you don't have a detailed route map, can you give me a directional map? Ning Cheng said with a smile. Since there were too many people buying the directional map, the shop assistant didn't say anything and took out a jade strip and handed it to Ning Cheng. What if the Grand Change Realm's heaven and earth laws were too strong and someone found out that he brought Yen Ji to the Grand Change Realm? May I ask what the 5-element Chaos Chi is being auctioned this time? Ning Cheng asked eagerly. The shop assistant also saw Ning Cheng's interest and said with a smile, it's the earth-attributed 5-element Chaos Chi. Although he was sure that Ning Cheng wouldn't be able to afford it even if he went, he felt that he had succeeded in making his customers so eager. Chapter 1021. Ning Cheng felt a little disappointed in his heart. If it wasn't wood-attributed Chaos Chi, it wouldn't be of much use to him. If the Chaos Chi is so precious, why auction it in Broken Thatch Spirit City? Wouldn't it be more valuable if we went to Grand Essence Domain's Heaven Essence Sacred City? Ning Cheng asked. In fact, this wasn't what he was thinking about. He wanted to ask who sold the Chaos Chi and where they got it. The shop assistant smiled, I heard that the person who obtained the earth-attributed Chaos Chi leaked the news. He also knew that he couldn't take it away, so he decided to sell it in Broken Thatch Spirit City. This is the edge of the Grand Essence Realm, and no powerful holy emperors would come here. Therefore, many people want to try their luck. Ning Qing nodded. This shop assistant was right. This was the edge of the Grand Essence realm. The 10 major sects and some Dao fusion powerhouses were too far away from here. Not to mention whether they could get the news, even if they did, they might not be able to come in time. Without so many powerhouses, ordinary holy emperors would have a lot more opportunities. Then who was so careless? Who leaked the news? Let everyone know where it came from. Ning Qing asked. This was what he wanted to know the most. The shop assistant shook his head. Although I know that the person leaked the news, it's not something I can know. I suggest you don't ask about it. Just ask where it came from. It's not good to let others hear about it. The person who obtained the chaos chi definitely isn't simple. Ning Qing smiled, cupped his fists, and thanked the shop assistant before leaving the merchant house. The jade strip he bought from the shop assistant was quite detailed. Not only did the jade strip contain most of the treasures to be sold, but it also contained the name and location of the auction house. The auction was held by a very famous chamber of commerce on the border, Lobao Chamber of Commerce. The auction was held on the first floor of Lobao Chamber of Commerce, Lobao Divine Hall. There were many things on the jade strip, but only the chaos chi of the 5 elements caught Ning Qing's eye. Ning Qing didn't plan to participate in the auction. It made no difference to him whether he participated or not. What he wanted to know was, where did he get the earth-attributed chaos chi? Lobao Divine Hall's aura couldn't compare to Heaven Essence Sacred City's Pill Union. Moreover, even if Ning Qing arranged the defensive array formation outside, it wouldn't be any worse. I have something to put up for auction and want to find the person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce. Ning Qing entered the Lobao merchant house and immediately pointed out the purpose of his visit. Sure, but you'll have to wait for the next auction in 3 months. This auction is fully booked. The one who received Ning Qing was a female cultivator from the Lu Treasure Pavilion. Although she spoke politely, she did not hesitate to reject Ning Qing. Who was he trying to deceive? Ning Qing took out a jade box and placed it on the table. I want to auction a Dao transformation Dao fruit. If I really can't put it up for auction in half a month, I will look for the next one. Hearing the 2 words Dao fruit, a yellow-bearded old man sitting in the corner of the room suddenly raised his head, and his gaze shot towards Ning Qing. Ning Qing remained calm. He had already seen that the yellow-bearded old man was the one in charge of this house. Moreover, the female cultivator who spoke to him was only at the late-stage eternal realm. This yellow-bearded old man was at the late-stage Dao transformation realm. Dark Knight, go out. Leave this to me. The old man stood up. Yes. The female cultivator who refused Ning Qing quickly bowed in response and carefully retreated. After the female cultivator retreated, the yellow-bearded old man walked up to Ning Qing, put his hand on the jade box Ning Qing took out, and asked, "May I have a look?" This yellow-bearded old man felt a little strange. Ning Qing only had a Dao sculpting cultivation and seemed to be a rogue cultivator in the starry sky. Logically speaking, such a cultivator should be afraid of him if he put a Dao transformation Dao fruit up for auction. However, he couldn't see even the slightest fear from Ning Qing. One could even say that Ning Qing only felt calm. Ning Qing showed a slight smile, please. He naturally wouldn't fear a Dao transformation holy emperor. If they really fought, he had full confidence that he could kill this yellow-bearded old man in front of him. He didn't have anything to fear. The yellow-bearded old man opened the jade box and then closed it again. Although his expression remained calm, he felt shocked in his heart. Ning Qing looked like a late-stage Dao sculpting holy emperor, yet he could take out a grand nullification divine fruit. It was a Dao fruit derived from a Dao transformation holy emperor's laurelated spirit technique. Although it wasn't a top-grade Dao transformation Dao fruit, it was at least a mid-grade Dao transformation Dao fruit. What he lacked the most right now was this grand nullification divine fruit. I'm Lobao Divine Hall's auction manager, Ni Jing. May I ask if this Dao friend wants to auction this Dao fruit? Ni Jing put down the jade box again and asked with cupped fists. He didn't ask about Ning Cheng's origin. Some guests were afraid of this, but as the auction manager, he naturally knew about it. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. I don't have to auction this Dao fruit. If the price is right, I can sell this Dao fruit to Lo Bao Divine Hall now and let you auction it. However, I have an additional condition for selling this Dao fruit. Ni Jing nodded. If there was no condition, then he would have some doubts about selling a grand nullification divine fruit to Lo Bao Divine Hall for no reason. Everyone knew that selling it like this was completely different from selling it at an auction. Ni Jing didn't speak. He just waited for Ning Cheng to state his conditions. Ning Cheng knocked on the grand nullification divine fruit as if to remind Ni Jing that he was knocking on a Dao transformation Dao fruit. After knocking for a while, Ning Cheng spoke up casually, I heard that Lo Bao Divine Hall has 5-element chaos chi for sale this time. Ni Jing replied with a calm expression, according to the guest who came to auction it, it's 5-element chaos chi. I've never seen this thing before, but judging from the natural restriction and the aura within it, the guest who put it up for auction didn't speak nonsense. If nothing unexpected happens, it is indeed 5-element chaos chi. You didn't check it? Ning Cheng asked in surprise. Ni Jing smiled, this guest must be joking. This thing isn't easy to open for inspection. Ning Cheng didn't ask again. He guessed that it was a natural restriction. After Lo Bao Divine Hall opened it, it couldn't restore it. I would like to ask, where did this guest obtain the earth attribute chaos chi from? This is my additional condition. Ning Cheng spoke directly. Facing an old fellow like Ni Jing, no matter how he tried to be tactful, the other party could guess his thoughts. Therefore, he might as well ask. Ni Jing showed a faint smile on his face. Apparently, he had already expected Ning Cheng's question. This Dao friend, because many people have asked about this matter, the guest who obtained the earth-attributed chaos chi also made a jade strip of the location he obtained and participated in the auction. Ning Cheng felt that there were many people who thought the same as him. Steward Ni, can you sell the location jade strip to me, and I'll give you this Dao fruit as a reward. I believe that even at the auction, no one would bid higher than this. Ning Cheng knew that the location was about to be auctioned, so he didn't plan to take the great nullification divine fruit. Ni Jing shook his head, I believe this Dao friend. If you put it up for auction, a location jade strip is indeed not worth a Dao transformation Dao fruit. What I want to tell this Dao friend is that there are a total of 10 jade strips for this location auction. Ning Cheng's expression turned a little ugly, Steward Ni, do you mean that even if I buy the location jade strip now, someone else will know the location like me after the auction ends? Ni Jing spoke with some embarrassment, the latter part of your statement is correct, but the former part of your statement is wrong. You can't buy this location jade strip now because we promised the person who sent it. The 10 location jade strips must be sold at the auction. Even if someone offers a higher price, we will not allow them to be sold in advance. Ning Cheng's heart thumped. He had experienced too many things. What was the purpose of sending things for auction? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness thorn instantly broke through the restriction on the jade strip in Ni Jing's hand and read the contents of the jade strip in just a few breaths. Then, he said in a cold voice, since it doesn't work, then forget it. Goodbye. Not knowing if Ning Cheng was too angry or for other reasons, he didn't take the jade box containing the grand nullification fruit with him when he left. Ni Jing walked over to the place where Ning Cheng stood and rolled up his robe sleeves. The jade box disappeared without a trace. There were some things that needed to be tacitly understood. Everyone understood this. However, he secretly felt shocked at Ning Cheng's powerful spiritual consciousness. In just a few breaths, Ning Cheng obtained the contents. Previously, he thought that Ning Cheng would need at least a dozen breaths to do it. But Ning Cheng didn't even need 2 breaths. Chapter 1022. Five Elements Planet. This was the name of the planet that Ning Qing saw written on the jade strip. Five Elements Planet was an ownerless planet outside the Grand Essence realm. No one knew what was going on with this planet, but it had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. This planet that suddenly appeared was discovered by a lucky cultivator. As a result, he found the Earth-attributed primal chaos chi on this planet. Even the name Planet Five Moons was given by the cultivator who obtained the chaotic energy. According to the information Ning Qing read from the jade strip, the five-element star had been floating in the void for too long, causing the concealment star protecting Grand Array outside to shatter, which led to its discovery. The directions were clearly engraved on the jade strip. Even the location of the Grand Essence realm and how to get there were clearly marked. To be honest, the reason why Ning Qing wanted to use a Dao transformation Dao fruit to exchange for the information on this jade strip was that he wanted to take a look at it in advance. There was still half a month before the auction. If he went there half a month earlier, he might be able to obtain the five elemental chaos chi first. If he could really obtain the five elemental chaos chi, not to mention one great nullification divine fruit, even if he had to take out all of his great nullification divine fruits, it would still be a huge profit. But after seeing the contents of the jade strip, Ning Qing hesitated. Previously, he had guessed that this was a conspiracy. As for why the cultivator who obtained the five elemental chaos chi would do this, it was most likely to be to fish in troubled waters. In Ning Qing's opinion, it should be because of the difficulty in obtaining the five-element primal chi. Therefore, he wanted a lot of people to take the lead. After the others got rid of the threats around the chaos chi of the five elements, it was easier for him to succeed because he had a more detailed direction and target. As for what kind of threats he would have to face if he wanted to obtain the five elements of primal chaos chi, it might be an array formation or even a demonic beast. However, Ning Qing didn't care about it. But now Ning Qing realized that he had made a mistake. Since the five-element primal chaos chi was accidentally discovered on an ownerless planet, it meant that no one else could have seen it. The only exception would be if there were a few people in the group. If there were a few people in the group, then as long as one of them did not die, they would not wait for the cultivator who obtained the chaos energy to come and sell the map. They weren't idiots. Why wouldn't they earn this kind of money? If this cultivator was the only one left in the team, then it would be even more impossible for him to reveal the location. Such a secret had been leaked out, and everyone knew about it. The only explanation was that it was intentional. Since it was a trap set up by others, should he still go over? Ning Qing hesitated in his heart. He suspected that Ni Jing also knew about this matter. Perhaps the Lobao merchant group had participated in this plot as well. Ning Qing rubbed his somewhat messy hair. He knew that he had suffered a loss this time. It was very likely that the old fox Ni Jing had schemed against him. Ni Jing knew that even if he saw the contents of the jade slip, he would not dare to go over. Should I go or not? Whether he went or not, Ning Qing had already secretly left the Broken Thatch Spirit City. He once again changed his appearance to that of a family disciple before returning to the Broken Thatch Spirit City. Since the Lobao Chamber of Commerce might get involved in this, Ning Qing would not let himself be under the surveillance of the Lobao Chamber of Commerce. The second time, Ning Qing had just walked to the entrance of Broken Thatch Spirit City when he met two acquaintances, a man and a woman. Ning Qing remembered that the man was called Su Hui, and should be Su Shiqian's elder brother. In the Su clan's corner, Su Ji and had once held a family banquet, and at that time, Su Hui was also present. Ning Qing had also seen a woman standing next to Su Hui. She should be Su Hui's wife, Yan Jinqing. The Su clan's corner wasn't far from the Broken Thatch Spirit City, so Ning Qing didn't care about Su Hui and Yan Jinqing appearing in this place. Whether he had changed his appearance or not, Ning Qing had no intention of greeting this Su Hui. Ning Qing deliberately bypassed the Su Hui duo and walked into a small rest stop. After sitting down in the rest stop's lobby, he ordered a cup of spirit tea. He was still considering whether to go to Five Elements Planet. The reason why he chose this rest stop was because he wanted to hear what other cultivators thought about the upcoming auction. At this time, the entire Broken Thatch Spirit City was probably talking about the 5-element Chaos Chi and the upcoming auction. This kind of news could be heard in any rest stop. Ning Cheng had only drunk half of his cup of spirit tea when he saw Su Hui and Yan Jinqing walk into the rest stop. But this time, it wasn't just the two of them. A middle-aged man followed behind them. The middle-aged man's cultivation was higher than Su Hui's early-stage Dao birth. Seeing the expressions of the few people, Ning Cheng's heart moved, and his spiritual consciousness fell on Su Hui. After a while, the Su Hui trio entered a private room and activated a restriction to isolate Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. This time, Ning Cheng didn't hesitate. Using his spiritual consciousness thorn, he directly broke the restriction of the private room and took a glance inside the room. Not to mention that this small rest stop's restrictions were rubbish. Even if the array formation restrictions here were a few grades higher, they wouldn't be able to block Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness thorn. This wasn't just because Ning Cheng had obtained the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer, which greatly enhanced his spiritual consciousness attack. More importantly, Ning Cheng's attainments in the Tao of array formations were too high. He could clearly tell from where his spiritual consciousness should sweep in. "Big brother, what's going on? Why didn't you go to the Su clan's corner? Why did you let us come to Broken Thatch Spirit City?" The first to speak was Yan Jinqing, and she sounded a little unhappy. Only then did Ning Cheng realize that the middle-aged Dao birth Holy Emperor who followed Su Hui in was Yan Jinqing's elder brother. The middle-aged man said in a deep voice, "Su Hui, the Su clan will be yours sooner or later. You don't have to do it now. If Su Ji and doesn't let you control the Su clan in the future, we will naturally help." Su Hui frowned but didn't speak. He just swept his gaze towards Yan Jinqing. Why did he want to control the Su clan? He felt that this was a good time. Controlling the Su clan was not a good thing. Yan Jinqing quickly said, "Big brother, I asked you to bring people to help restrain Su Hui's grandfather, and that's Weizhong. It's not to control the Su clan, but for something else." The middle-aged man waved his hand. "No matter what it is, it's not as important as this. The Su clan's corner won't run away. I will help you in the future. Now, I called you to Broken Thatch Spirit City. If we succeed, we are likely to reach the second step of Tao confirming. It's not impossible to surpass the second step in the future." "What?" Hearing this, Su Hui and Yan Jinqing immediately forgot their purpose of coming here and looked at the middle-aged man eagerly. Not to mention surpassing the second step of Tao confirming. Even if it was the second step of Tao confirming, how many people could reach it? Su Hui asked even more eagerly, "Big brother Peng Jin, what is it that will allow us to reach the second step of Tao confirming?" The middle-aged man put up another restriction. Unfortunately, no matter how many restrictions he put up, it was useless under Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. After putting up the restriction, the middle-aged man named Peng Jin whispered, "Do you know about the upcoming auction in Broken Thatch Spirit City?" Su Hui nodded, "I know. I heard that Earth-attributed primal chaos chi has appeared. But what does it have to do with us? With our ability, it's impossible for us to obtain this primal chaos chi." Peng Jin snorted, "To compete for the primal chaos chi at the auction, even if my Yan clan and your Su clan combined, we still wouldn't qualify. I'm talking about the place where the primal chaos chi appears. I know about it. If we can't bid for it, we can look for other primal chaos chi." Ah! Peng Jin's news once again excited Su Hui and Yan Jinqing, and their faces turned red with excitement. Even Ning Cheng couldn't help but focus. Did this middle-aged man also know about Planet 5 Elements? According to the news I got, the 5-element primal chaos chi is on a planet 5 elements not far from the Grand Essence realm. This news will be auctioned off in half a month, so we can go to planet 5 elements ahead of time. I called you over for two reasons. Firstly, you're my family, and secondly, we can work together. Peng Jin whispered. When Ning Cheng heard this, he almost crushed the cup in his hand. That old bastard Ni Jing, he really didn't wrongly accuse him. This fellow had secretly leaked the news about Planet 5 Elements and even said that he couldn't sell the jade strip in advance. This old cunning fellow sold him out, yet he still helped him count the money. He had used a Dao transformation Dao fruit in exchange for a useless piece of information and not even a jade slip. Ning Cheng guessed that in this old fellow's eyes, Ning Cheng was just a clown. Ning Cheng's anger quickly dissipated, and he sighed in his heart. Compared to these best actors, he was still a bit worse. But since he wanted to auction the jade strip, why did he leak the news in advance? Then what are we waiting for? Let's hurry up. Yan Jinqing stood up in excitement. Her elder brother, Peng Jin, spoke up in a deep voice, our strength is still too weak. We need to find more people to help us. Since that person took out the location for auction, it means that the place is a bit dangerous. He can't get it alone. After that, Peng Jin seemed to remember something from before. He looked at Yan Jinqing and asked, you just said that you want me to bring a few people to Su Clan's corner. Isn't it for Su Hui? Then why? Yan Jinqing whispered, a mysterious guest came to Su Clan's corner. He casually gave a purple heaven pill and a crossing Qi Dao pill to Su Hui's grandfather, Su Jihan. I'm afraid that Su Shiqian would waste these two pills, so I want to take them back for Brother Hui. What? This time, it was Yan Jinqing's elder brother's turn to be shocked. He immediately asked eagerly, where is the mysterious guest who gave the pills? Don't have any ideas about that mysterious guest. Although he's just an ordinary Dao molding divine emperor, he has a very powerful friend. I suspect that he's at the second step of Dao confirming. I just want to get the two pills he sent to Su Clan's corner and give them to Brother Hui. Yan Jinqing quickly said. Peng Jin said with hatred, you're really stupid. With Su Hui's sister's cultivation, it would take at least many years to use up this pill. We don't need to be in a hurry at all. The one in a hurry is that mysterious guest. His friend is powerful. Is he going to stay by his friend's side for the rest of his life? As long as he separates from his friend, wouldn't we be able to kill him easily? Su Hui and Yan Jinqing glanced at each other. Only now did they understand such a simple truth. They never thought of it. Chapter 1023. Ning Cheng sneered. Even if he and Roashi separated, he could still kill these three fellows with just a flip of his hand. Ning Cheng despised Su Shiqian's elder brother, Su Hui. This kind of person was really shameless. He had talked with Su Shiqian and Su Yan before. Therefore, he knew that the business of the Su Clan's corner had always been managed by Su Shiqian, while Su Hui and Yan Jinqing were in closed-door cultivation. Not only were Su Hui and Yan Jinqing not grateful for Su Shiqian's efforts, they even coveted the pills in his possession. Putting that aside, Su Hui was still Su Shiqian's brother. How could he be so shameless? Seeing that Su Hui and Yan Jinqing understood, Peng Jin did not continue to speak. Instead, he waved his hand and said, let's put this matter aside for now. Since that person is related to Su Hui's sister, we can still find him through her. Yes, we have to hurry to Planet 5 Elements now, Yan Jinqing quickly said. There's no hurry. I still have to invite two friends, and then we'll go to Planet 5 Elements. Peng Jin said in a deep voice. Ning Cheng did not continue listening and decided to go to the 5-element planet first. Since he and Yan Jinqing's brother knew about the incident on Planet 5 Moons, there must be other people who knew about it. When he arrived at Planet 5 Elements, there was no need for him to go in. He would hide at the side and observe the situation. Just as Ning Cheng was about to leave the rest stop, Su Gui and the others also came out. It seemed that they had finished their discussion. When Su Hui and the other two walked past Ning Cheng casually shot out a few spiritual consciousness imprints and placed them on the three of them. Whether there was a conspiracy or not, the location on the jade slip was not wrong. The five-element star did exist, and it was really hidden by an array formation. If Ning Cheng didn't know that there was a hidden planet here, he might have overlooked it in a hurry. The defensive array around the concealed planet was indeed a top-grade natural defensive array. Ning Cheng, as an array formation master, could naturally see the power of this concealment grand array. Moreover, this concealment array was indeed a natural array, but a corner of the array was broken. It was precisely because a corner of the concealment array was broken that someone was able to discover it and enter. Ning Cheng stood not far from the broken corner of this natural concealment grand array and hid himself completely. Knowing that this five-element planet was a conspiracy, Ning Cheng naturally would not rush in. Just observing it for a few breaths of time, Ning Cheng's face immediately filled with shock. He had yet to enter planet five elements, but he could feel a kind of aura emanating from the corner of the concealment array. This kind of aura was somewhat similar to the aura of the mysterious yellow origin, but it was completely different. Compared to the aura of the mysterious yellow origin, how could it be simple? The only explanation was that the contents of the jade slip he exchanged from Lu Bao Shenlu was real. There really was five-elemental chaos qi here. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness didn't sweep into planet five elements. Instead, he hid in the void outside planet five elements and arranged a void concealment array around him while waiting for Su Hui and the others to arrive. His invisibility technique could hide him from Su Gui, but it couldn't hide him from some Dao transformation or primordial Dao experts. Since he had decided to stay here, he had to hide well. With the invisibility formation and invisibility technique, unless a Dao Essence Divine Emperor specifically searched for him, they wouldn't be able to find him. A day later, Ning Cheng had already finished arranging the concealment defensive array, while the first batch of people finally arrived. It wasn't Su Gui and them but three people Ning Cheng had never seen before. 3 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors. In a place with many sects in Grand Essence Domain, 3 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors weren't much. But in a place like this, 3 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors were considered powerful. The three soon arrived outside planet 5 elements and stood at a corner of the concealment grand formation. It's really pure primordial chaos qi. One of the female cultivators said in shock. Clearly, they felt the same aura as Ning Cheng. The other two were just as excited as the female cultivator. A green-robed man standing next to the female cultivator said in a hoarse voice, "It's not pure primordial chaos qi. Lu Bao Merchant Union is right. It's indeed 5 elemental chaos qi. This is 5 elemental chaos qi formed after Xiantian primordial chaos qi fused with the laws of heaven and earth. This 5 elemental chaos qi is no less valuable than Xiantian primordial chaos qi. Then what are you waiting for? Let's go in now and do as we agreed. There's mist inside. Let's be careful." The third Dao Actualization Divine Emperor stepped into the concealment star protecting Grand Formation. The other man and woman glanced at each other before rushing in. After the three of them entered, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness carefully swept in behind the three of them. However, Ning Cheng's spiritual sense instantly retracted. The three disappeared without a trace as soon as they entered. The entire 5 elements planet was shrouded in white mist. No matter where his spiritual sense landed, it was the same. Sure enough, 5 elemental chaos qi was good, but in this case, should he still go in? Another day later, Ning Cheng didn't see the three come out at all. Not only did he not see the three come out, but he also saw a second group of people come in. This group also wasn't Su Gui's group. If he had been more careful and checked the surroundings first, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Fortunately, this man in brocade robes looked like a middle-stage Dao birth cultivator, so Ning Cheng didn't take him seriously. "This Dao friend, since we've seen the same thing, why don't we team up and go in? The man in brocade robes smiled and cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng when he saw Ning Cheng come out. Ning Cheng replied with a calm voice, "You saw so many people go in and not come out, yet you still want to go in? Dao friend, you really have some guts." The man in brocade robes chuckled, "What is an opportunity? In addition to luck, opportunities also depend on courage. If you are afraid of the future, I'm afraid that you will miss the opportunity even if it is right in front of you. It's just like the 5 elemental chaos chi in front of us right now. If you don't dare to go in and take it, it would be a huge loss. What if you can't come out after going in? Is an opportunity more important, or is your life more important?" Ning Cheng asked. The man in brocade robes didn't chuckle this time. Instead, he laughed out loud. "If you can't come out, it means that you don't have an opportunity. If you don't have the heart to pursue the strong, you will never become strong." Ning Cheng's expression changed immediately. He had not taken the man in brocade robes seriously, but he hadn't expected this fellow to be so courageous. "My name is Jing Shihua. If I don't come out, remember to burn an incense stick for me, haha." After the man in brocade robes finished speaking, his figure flashed and he entered 5 Elements planet. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He had indeed hesitated just now. Because of Yan Ji, if he died, Yan Ji wouldn't survive either. Since Yan Ji was willing to die with him, even if Yan Ji wasn't here, the result would be the same if she learned of this in the future. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng no longer hesitated and decided to enter 5 Elements planet. However, he still had to make some preparations before entering 5 Elements planet. Ruoshi had borrowed the child talisman of the opening heaven talisman, but he still had a few boundary-breaking talismans. Ning Cheng didn't know if the boundary-breaking talisman could break through the interface of 5 Elements planet, but he didn't intend to gamble. He planned to use the same method he had used to break into the Severing Emotions Dao sect, using a teleportation array. He was an array Dao Grandmaster. If he didn't use his expertise, it would be a waste of his many years of studying the Dao of array formations. After arranging a transfer array outside 5 Elements planet, Ning Cheng then entered 5 Elements planet. 5 Elements planet was covered in a white mist, just as Ning Cheng had seen with his spiritual consciousness. What surprised Ning Cheng even more was that before he entered 5 Elements planet, he could still feel a powerful aura similar to the mysterious yellow origin. However, after he entered, he could no longer feel this aura. But just a moment later, he sensed another aura that was even more distinct. It contained a strong 5-element attribute, which made his spirit essence and body become active. Chapter 1024. Was this the 5-element chaos chi? Ning Cheng's entire person immediately turned excited. He didn't expect to feel the 5-element chaos chi the moment he entered 5 Elements planet. This aura seemed different from the aura he felt outside 5 Elements planet, but it also seemed to have a completely different effect from the mysterious yellow origin chi. However, at this moment, Ning Cheng's mind was completely filled with the idea of obtaining the 5-element chaos chi. Therefore, he immediately rushed in the direction of this 5-element aura. No, Ning Cheng only walked for a dozen breaths before he stopped. If he could feel it, then others could also feel it. In other words, the holy emperors who came in before were the same as him, moving forward through this feeling. But the fact was that he had been waiting outside for 9 days, but he didn't see a single cultivator coming out. Ning Cheng had just stopped when a horrifying aura directly rushed into his sea of consciousness. He couldn't even resist it for half a moment. Just like a majestic river, a torrent raged in his sea of consciousness, and a series of roars resounded in his sea of consciousness. Was this an attack targeting his sea of consciousness? Ning Cheng instantly understood that this wasn't a possession, but a powerful means to attack his sea of consciousness. At this moment, Ning Cheng couldn't care about looking for the 5-element chaos chi. He quickly brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort. If he didn't block it, this attack would be like blowing gas into a balloon. Sooner or later, it would blow up his sea of consciousness. At first, this attack really looked like an invisible gas, but as Ning Cheng brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort in his sea of consciousness to block it, this attack turned into a substantial torrent of sharp knives. This reminded Ning Cheng of Ding Xi's Knife Mountain artifact. At this moment, the torrent of attacks in his sea of consciousness was several times more terrifying than Ding Xi's endless Knife Mountain. Catcha! A crack appeared in Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. Ning Cheng's heart sank as a crack appeared in his sea of consciousness. Immediately after, his mind suffered a backlash, and he spat out several mouthfuls of blood. The everlasting blue thunder fort couldn't block this attack at all. This attack was like an invisible shadow that could ignore the existence of the everlasting blue thunder fort. More and more of these attacks poured into Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness, and these torrents turned into blade lights, sword chi, glaciers, flames. All kinds of attacks crazily spread in Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness, and Ning Cheng couldn't use any means to block these attacks. Hurry up! Ning Cheng immediately brought out the array flag to teleport away. He soon discovered that, at this moment, apart from bringing out the everlasting Blue Thunder City, he could not bring out anything else. Not to mention bringing out the array flags, even entering the mysterious yellow bead would be impossible. He had almost no control over his sea of consciousness. If this continued, not to mention that he would not be able to control his sea of consciousness, even if he could control it, it would explode. Kaka. Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness continued to crack open, causing Ning Cheng's entire body to turn cold. He finally understood why there was no news of the people who came in before him. No matter how strong these people were, they would not be able to withstand such a violent sea of consciousness attack. How many of them had a starry sky sea of consciousness like him? Even his starry sky sea of consciousness couldn't hold out for long, so it would be strange if others could hold out. Planet 5 Elements really was a conspiracy, but Ning Cheng could not understand this kind of conspiracy. Was it just to attract people to come in and kill them? His sea of consciousness was still splitting apart. Ning Cheng could feel his consciousness gradually fading away. His sea of consciousness contained an additional thought, which pointed him in a certain direction. It seemed that all he had to do was slowly advance in that direction. I must not lose consciousness, Ning Cheng thought in his heart. Dark Nether Spirit Devourer, devouring everything. The Dark Nether Spirit Devourer was Ning Cheng's last resort. At this moment, he had no other choice but to operate the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer to devour the attacks in his sea of consciousness. What made Ning Cheng excited was that when the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer started to operate, the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer directly grinded away the attacks in his sea of consciousness, turning them into a stream of spiritual consciousness that he could devour. The torrent attacking his sea of consciousness turned out to be a transformed spiritual consciousness attack. Moreover, this transformed spiritual consciousness attack was several times more powerful than his own spiritual consciousness attack. Even his everlasting Blue Thunder City could not resist it, which showed how terrifying this spiritual consciousness attack was. When Ning Cheng started to operate the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer grind to grind away the torrent of attacks in his sea of consciousness, his sea of consciousness finally stopped cracking apart. The violent torrent that filled his sea of consciousness also gradually stabilized, at least it did not continue to crack apart his sea of consciousness. The torrent attacking his sea of consciousness from the outside still continued to increase, and Ning Cheng could not stop it at all. The only thing he could do was to constantly use the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer grind to grind away the attacks in his sea of consciousness to protect his sea of consciousness. After knowing that this attack might be man-made, Ning Cheng did not dare to enter the mysterious yellow bead. He did not even dare to casually bring out the array flags to escape. Even if he wanted to escape, he needed to have enough strength to do so. Otherwise, just as his front foot reached the outside of 5-element planet, he might end up getting sucked in again. Looking at the torrent attacking his sea of consciousness, it was still very mild. As long as he could use the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer grind to grind away this attack, he could eventually save his life. Once he escaped, and the people from 5-element planet found him, they would definitely target him. At that time, how could he survive? Ning Cheng was not sure if this attack was controlled by someone, but he had to be careful. As time slowly flowed by, Ning Cheng also gradually submerged into the white mist, without even a single sound. Ning Cheng just kept using the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer grind to grind away the attacks in his sea of consciousness. Unfortunately, this kind of attack seemed endless. No matter how much Ning Cheng swallowed or grinded away, the torrent of attacks would quickly fill Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness again. If this continued, his sea of consciousness would collapse sooner or later. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and carefully took out an Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pill and swallowed it before taking out a few more transfer array flags. In case he was discovered, or if he had no way to resist this kind of attack on his sea of consciousness, he would immediately bring out the teleportation array flag and make a desperate escape. With the help of the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pill, Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness grew stronger and stronger. The pressure on Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness was also getting lighter and lighter, while the cracks in his sea of consciousness were also slowly being repaired. Not knowing how much time had passed, Ning Cheng felt that the torrent attacking his sea of consciousness had become even more rapid. If the previous attacks were a small stream, then the current attacks had turned into a large river. Ning Cheng, who had just recovered his sea of consciousness, once again faced a powerful bombardment. Had his secret of being able to refine the torrents attacking his sea of consciousness been exposed? This was Ning Cheng's first reaction. He was sure that his means to resist this kind of attack had been leaked, and the hidden attack was now fully concentrated on him. Hurrying to leave, Ning Cheng immediately brought out the transmission array flag. Ning Cheng had just thrown out a transmission array flag when he once again felt a few figures passing by him. At the same time, the attack in Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness weakened once again. Did someone come again? Soon, Ning Cheng's guess turned into a fact. This time, someone really came, and it wasn't just one or two people. Groups of people rushed into the depths of 5-element planet from different places. Although many of them saw Ning Cheng, no one felt strange about it. At this time, the torrent attacking Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness had become even weaker. Ning Cheng understood that this definitely had something to do with the cultivators who came in. With so many people coming in at once, the only explanation was that the auction was over, and many cultivators had come to 5-element planet after receiving the news. Feeling that the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer had completely worn away the attacks in his sea of consciousness, Ning Cheng didn't rush to leave. He didn't want to know the purpose of 5-element planet attracting so many people to this place. He truly felt the 5-element primal chaos chi here. This time, Ning Cheng didn't rush forward with the crowd. His spiritual consciousness had become even more powerful now, so he directly spread out his spiritual consciousness to observe the surroundings. The cultivators who came in were the same as him. After coming in, they desperately tried to escape in one direction. Some people, like him, woke up halfway. Unfortunately, they didn't have the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer cultivation method. In the end, they still had to follow the voice in their consciousness. Ning Cheng didn't dare to follow these people. He was afraid that the attacks would control his sea of consciousness again. He also didn't go out but chose one of the directions. The reason why he chose this direction was because of his spiritual consciousness imprint. He had left a spiritual consciousness imprint on Su Hui, Yan Jinqing, and that Ping Jin. In the end, only this spiritual consciousness imprint remained. Ning Cheng remembered very clearly that this spiritual consciousness imprint was left on Yan Jinqing. Ning Cheng walked very slowly. After more than half an hour, he found Yan Jinqing. To be precise, he found Yan Jinqing's body. Yan Jinqing had already died, but she had a strange smile on her face. Her body was intact, but the clothes around her waist were missing, revealing her white body. There was also a cyan handprint on her lower abdomen. Ning Qing took in a deep breath. It wasn't that Yan Jinqing had died that shocked him, but the state of Yan Jinqing's death surprised him. Yan Jinqing was a Tao sculpting holy emperor. Generally, after a holy emperor died, as long as their corporeal body remained, there would be some remnant Tao charm. Many holy emperors still had traces of Tao charm on their bodies even after countless years of death. But Yan Jinqing looked like an ordinary person. After she died, there was no trace of Tao charm left. It was as if someone had stripped away the traces of Tao charm on her body. Stripped away. Ning Qing shuddered. At this moment, he suddenly heard a scream. Someone is devouring the foundation Tao charm of cultivators here, crazily seizing spiritual roots. The voice only spoke half a sentence before it stopped abruptly. Ning Cheng's scalp went numb. This was not a good place. But before he could think of leaving, he heard more sharp screams and even some shouts. Among these shouts, Ning Qing vaguely felt an aura similar to the mysterious yellow origin aura. That's right, this is the aura. Ning Qing felt ecstatic. He felt sure that this aura was different from the aura he felt when he first entered Five Elements Planet. The aura he sensed earlier was attracting him, urging him to rush in. But this aura was the real Five Elements Chaos Qi. Ning Qing didn't hesitate and directly followed this aura. Since entering Five Elements Planet, he had been in a passive state. Now that he felt the Five Elements Chaos Qi, if he didn't find a way to take it away, he would feel sorry for himself. Chapter 1025. At this moment, in Ning Cheng's perception, the entire Five Elements Planet felt like a huge steep slope, and he kept falling down. Along the way, Ning Cheng encountered several corpses of cultivators who had just fallen. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who had discovered the Five-Element Chaos Qi. Many more people had discovered this place. It's just that these people couldn't reach the end before falling down. These cultivators' corpses were the same as Yan Jinqing's, without even a trace of Tao charm. At this moment, a torrent several times stronger than the one that attacked his sea of consciousness before slammed into his sea of consciousness. Catcha. Ning Cheng's starry sky sea of consciousness once again made a cracking sound, and Ning Cheng felt his consciousness tearing apart into pieces. The terrible pain made him roar out in a low voice. This kind of attack was something his dark nether spirit devourer grind couldn't swallow. Unable to contain the essence blood within his body, he couldn't help but spit it out. Ning Cheng still didn't have the slightest thought of retreating. Instead, he kept rushing forward while using the dark nether spirit devourer to swallow the torrent that attacked his sea of consciousness. In this way, Ning Cheng kept rushing down while operating the dark nether spirit devourer grind to absorb the attack in his sea of consciousness. As for the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill, Ning Cheng treated it as a candy at this moment. As for the aftereffects, Ning Cheng didn't care about it right now. Bang! An invisible restriction blocked Ning Cheng's path. Outside the restriction, there were several corpses of cultivators who had just fallen. They had the same luck as Ning Cheng, but they didn't have the same strength as Ning Cheng. As such, they died just after arriving here. Ning Cheng quickly ignored the corpses of the cultivators on the ground and stared at the scene in front of him in shock. This was a huge spherical restriction, and there were 5 completely different auras flowing within it. Each aura contained an indescribable Tao charm and something similar to a morning bell or evening drum. Although there was no sound, it could penetrate into the depths of a person's mind, just like a giant drum roaring in the bottom of one's heart. This definitely was the 5-element Chaos Qi. Ning Cheng held back the ecstasy in his heart and raised his hand to crack the restriction in front of him. "And, if you dare to break this restriction, this sage will not stop until I devour your soul for 1,000,000 years." Just as Ning Cheng was about to break the restriction, a bone-chilling voice rang out in Ning Cheng's ears. Ning Cheng suddenly looked up and saw a looming shadow appear behind the huge restriction. This shadow seemed to be formed by countless Dao rune auras. These Dao rune auras were fusing together at a rapid speed. So it's you. You tricked all these people here to devour their Dao aura, foundation, and spiritual roots, right? What a vicious cultivation method. Ning Cheng raised his hand, and a long spear immediately appeared in his hand. The world's cultivation methods are only divided into useful ones and useless ones. How could there be evil and non-evil ones? For example, your devouring will attack technique is a very useful thing. Otherwise, I'm afraid you wouldn't have been able to reach here. The shadow laughed. Ning Cheng found that as this looming figure spoke, it had once again solidified a bit. He immediately understood that this figure must be constantly growing while devouring. Just like his 7 Bridges divine art, after merging with the laws of the dark nether realm, it slowly solidified. At this time, Ning Cheng was even more certain that this fellow could not move, and could only attack through the torrent of attacks that had entered his sea of consciousness. Cultivators who couldn't devour spiritual consciousness could only watch their sea of consciousness explode after entering this place. As for this fellow from planet 5 Elements, after killing these cultivators, he could use the fastest speed to seize the Dao runes, foundation, and spiritual roots of these cultivators. Through this kind of seizing, he continued to grow and solidify. Once he grew to the point where he could move at will, Ning Cheng wouldn't even have the ability to resist. I'll give you the chaos chi of the 5 elements. As long as you cooperate with me, we can talk about the specific cooperation methods after I give you the chaos chi of the 5 elements. Otherwise, even if I let you enter this restriction, you would only be able to stare at the chaos chi of the 5 elements. Let me tell you, the chaos chi of the 5 elements is not something that can be taken away by ordinary things. But I can use this restriction to let you take away these things. The shadow behind the huge restriction continued to attack Ning Cheng's position in various ways. I agree. After the shadow heard Ning Cheng's words, it calmly spoke up, it's good that you agree. We both have our own gains. Otherwise, you wouldn't get anything and would even die. When the shadow spoke these words, its figure turned even more solid. But before it could finish its words, the spirit artifact long spear in Ning Cheng's hand slammed into the circular restriction. At the same time, Ning Cheng also spoke out the last few words. That's strange. At this time, Ning Cheng fully understood why Lobao Chamber of Commerce leaked the location of Planet 5 Elements before the auction even started. There was only one reason, that was, this shadow's cultivation wasn't high enough. The shadow most likely had an agreement with Lobao Chamber of Commerce, which meant that Lobao Chamber of Commerce would send a small number of cultivators here to improve the shadow's strength. Once the shadow's strength improved to a certain level, it would bring in more cultivators to improve the shadow's strength once again. It was just like a starving person, who would first give him some porridge, followed by a feast of fish and meat. Ning Cheng would remember this enmity from the Lobao Chamber of Commerce for no reason. Boom. Catcha. This circular restriction was already a bit broken, and it began to overflow with the primal chi of the 5 elements. Coupled with Ning Cheng being an array formation master proficient in the Tao of array formations, this spear strike caused a crack to appear on the circular restriction. If he didn't have the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer technique and the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pill, his sea of consciousness would have turned to dust before he could even reach this place. In the face of this fellow who wanted to kill him, if Ning Cheng was willing to compromise, then he wouldn't be Ning Cheng. What's more, this fellow's body hadn't even solidified yet. You're courting death. The shadow roared in anger, and a dozen torrents of Sea of Consciousness attacks swept into Ning Cheng's Sea of Consciousness. Ning Cheng staggered, as he crazily spurted out several mouthfuls of blood, while his entire face turned incomparably pale. He had originally disguised himself as a family's pretty boy, so after spitting out these blood arrows, his face turned even paler. No, if this continued, his Sea of Consciousness would eventually shatter under these torrents. While Ning Qing crazily operated the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer technique, his spiritual consciousness also began to stretch out, forming a spiritual consciousness domain around his body. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness domain had already taken shape a long time ago. However, using the spiritual consciousness domain to deal with other spirit techniques did not have much effect, which was why he did not use the spiritual consciousness domain to defend himself. Now that he was in a life and death situation, he forcibly brought out his spiritual consciousness domain to face the enemy. The Shadow's torrent of consciousness attacks, other than spiritual consciousness, could not be blocked at all. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness domain had just formed, when nearly 40 to 50 torrents of consciousness blasted over. Ants, go to hell. Seeing Ning Cheng continue to attack the circular restriction, the Shadow finally went berserk, and focused more of its energy on dealing with Ning Cheng. Kaka. Kaka. The cracking sounds came from Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness domain, which was continuously shattering under these consciousness attacks. The torrents of consciousness attacks bombarded Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness, causing Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness to crack a few more times. The cracking sounds came from the circular restriction under Ning Cheng's long spear, causing 2 more cracks to appear on it. An indescribable Tao rune aura cleansed Ning Cheng's body, making him feel comfortable and refreshed. Even his understanding of Tao runes and 5-element spirit arts instantly became much stronger. Big brother, I didn't misjudge you. I'm basking in your light. Jing Shihua passed by Ning Cheng and didn't forget to thank him. He even promoted Ning Cheng to big brother. When he saw Jing Shihua holding an exquisite jade bottle, Ning Cheng recalled what the Shadow had said. This 5 elements chaos chi was very hard to take away. Just as Ning Cheng thought of this, he heard the 2 Tao transformation holy emperors exclaim, "Not good, we don't have anything to take away this 5 elements chaos chi." More and more cultivators rushed here, and the Shadow no longer cared about Ning Cheng. Chapter 1026. When Ning Cheng saw the exquisite jade bottle in Jing Shihua's hand continuously absorbing the origin aura, he sighed inwardly. This fellow had prepared everything before coming here. Ning Cheng stopped thinking about it and brought out the immeasurable gourd. The only treasure he had that could store things was the immeasurable gourd. As for the bottles and jars he had refined, Ning Cheng knew that he could not take them out. Before taking out the immeasurable gourd, Ning Cheng had already made preparations. If the immeasurable gourd could not collect the 5 elemental chaos chi, he would use the mysterious yellow bead to store it. The only pity was that the 5 elemental chaos chi would dissipate in the space of the mysterious yellow bead after being stored in it. The immeasurable gourd seemed to exist specifically to store the 5 elemental chaos chi. As soon as Ning Cheng took out the immeasurable gourd, it started trembling violently. Ning Cheng had just thought of storing things when the immeasurable gourd's mouth suddenly enlarged. The huge gourd's mouth floated in the middle of the 5 elemental chaos chi like a bottomless pit, seemingly waiting for Ning Cheng's command. At this point, how could Ning Cheng not know that the immeasurable gourd desperately wanted to store the 5 elemental chaos chi? His spiritual consciousness immediately landed on the immeasurable gourd and sent out a thought to collect the 5 elemental chaos chi. He even thought of separating the 5 elemental chaos chi. As for whether it could be separated, Ning Cheng did not care. Bang! The sound of space contracting could be heard. Ning Cheng was shocked to see the 5 elemental chaos chi in the huge spherical restriction pour into the immeasurable gourd like water bursting through a dam. A huge whirlpool appeared around the immeasurable gourd, and Ning Cheng quickly sobered up. His heart was filled with ecstasy. He had guessed that the immeasurable gourd could collect the 5 elemental chaos chi, but he had not expected it to be so heaven-defying. Given the immeasurable gourd's crazy absorption rate, it would take at most half an hour to absorb all the 5 elemental chaos chi. Ning Cheng knew that he could not absorb for more than half an hour. Once that happened, let alone the Shadow, even the other sacred emperors in the circular restriction would not let him off. While the measureless gourd crazily absorbed the five-element primal chi, Ning Cheng's hand curled up and once again formed a whirlpool. But this time, it was not the measureless gourd, but Ning Cheng directly sent it into the mysterious yellow bead. In just half an incense stick's time, the five-elemental chaos chi had been reduced by nearly half. Moreover, Ning Cheng harvested too much of the five-element primal chaos chi, which exposed the huge absorption vortex in just a short time. Even if the chaos chi of the five elements could make others ignore their surroundings, it was impossible for them to ignore this situation. At this moment, all eyes fell on Ning Cheng's measureless gourd. Ning Cheng's absorption of the mysterious yellow bead's five elements primal chi also caused others to think that he had inhaled the measureless gourd. Everyone had come here to snatch the five elements of primal chaos chi, but Ning Cheng's act of snatching it was a bit too overbearing. It was impossible for people not to feel jealous. A few Tao actualization divine emperors charged at Ning Cheng at the same time. Ning Cheng even saw a Tao essence divine emperor grab at him. Ning Cheng roared and unleashed his spiritual consciousness attack. At the same time, dozens of time wheels shot out. Spiritual consciousness attacks and time wheels were powerful killing moves. Even if they couldn't kill the Tao actualization divine emperors, they were enough to delay them for a few breaths. A few breaths was enough for Ning Cheng. He threw out the teleportation array flag without hesitation and put away the measureless gourd. The teleportation array flag brought with it a spatial fluctuation. In just a few breaths, it had already swept Ning Cheng away. Array Tao powerhouses were truly capricious. They even used teleportation arrays to escape. The few Tao actualization divine emperors could only watch Ning Cheng get teleported away. No one went to chase after Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng didn't escape with all the five-element primal chaos chi. He only took about half of it, and there was still a lot left. It just depended on whether everyone could take it away. At this time, everyone relied on their own ability to take as much as they could. Even if they knew that Ning Cheng had taken the biggest part, no one went to chase after Ning Cheng. There would definitely be some left here, but who knew if they could catch up to Ning Cheng? It was just that there weren't many cultivators who could take away the five-element primal chaos chi like Ning Cheng. One reason was that they didn't have any treasures to store the five-element primal chaos chi, and the other was that they didn't have Ning Cheng's life-saving means. Some of them couldn't even stay in this circular restriction for a few breaths before their sea of consciousness was blasted open by an invisible torrent, turning them into cold corpses. Ning Cheng knew that those people wouldn't chase after him immediately. After teleporting out of Five Elements Planet, he desperately activated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. After leaving Five Elements Planet, he immediately brought out the starry sky wheel and rushed away. Whether it was the Tao Essence powerhouse in Five Elements Planet or the shadow that devoured Tao Charm foundations and spiritual roots, he couldn't deal with them right now. Since he already had what he wanted, what was he waiting for? He wasn't qualified to find others to settle the accounts of the Lo Bao Chamber of Commerce. From the moment Ning Cheng teleported out of Five Elements Planet to the moment he brought out the starry sky wheel, it took less than 3 breaths. He didn't even put away the teleportation array, just to escape as quickly as possible. In fact, Ning Cheng didn't do anything wrong. His figure had just disappeared when a huge handprint grabbed his teleportation array and directly crushed it into powder. Unfortunately, Ning Cheng had left too quickly. Although this handprint contained a powerful aura of laws, it couldn't stop Ning Cheng in time. The shadow in the depths of Five Elements Planet, which was slightly more solid, trembled at this moment. The handprint he had condensed just now had made his solid body even more illusory. Only he knew that he wasn't trembling because he had consumed too much essence chi, but because of Ning Cheng's anger. To obtain this planet containing the five-element primal chaos chi, he had paid the price of his corporeal body and cultivation. His essence spirit had guarded this place for countless years, but just when he was about to succeed, an ant destroyed it. What made him even angrier was that he hadn't managed to crush this ant to death. Unfortunately, he had condensed the handprint a little too late. At this moment, he regretted it very much. If he had known this earlier, he would have asked the Lobao Chamber of Commerce to push back the date of the auction to a few more days so that he could grow stronger. Even at the cost of his condensed body, he still couldn't stop Ning Cheng. Therefore, he could only vent his anger on the cultivators still on Five Elements planet. As the holy emperors died one after another, coupled with the five-element primal chaos chi dissipating, more and more people realized that the situation was hopeless. Everyone started to flee from Five Elements planet. No matter how unwilling this shadow was, he could only watch as the cultivators escaped. The handprint he condensed not only failed to stop that Tao sculpting ant, but it also allowed more people to escape. He would remember this ant who robbed him of the five-element primal chaos chi. One day, he would chew and swallow this ant. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to calm the anger in his heart. Ning Cheng changed his appearance to that of a middle-aged scholar on the starry sky wheel and returned to Broken Thatch Spirit City for the third time. He didn't want to come back and wanted to go to the Grand Essence domain alone. But after thinking about it again and again, he decided to go with the Void Airship. Otherwise, with his strength alone, he wouldn't be able to pass through the Grand Essence Demon Vein. Besides, Su Yan also said that it would take at least a year to reach the Grand Essence Sea through the Grand Essence Demon Vein. Moreover, after passing through the Grand Essence Demon Vein, he would only reach the edge of the Grand Essence Sea. If he didn't follow the airship fleet, he might not be able to find the teleportation array by the Grand Essence Sea. Ning Cheng wasn't crazy to cross the Grand Essence Sea directly to the Grand Essence domain without using the teleportation array. The Grand Essence Ruins was the largest place in the Grand Essence realm, followed by the Grand Essence Sea. Not to mention that he didn't know how long it would take to cross the Grand Essence Sea, even if the time needed was within his acceptable range. Even with his strength, he wasn't qualified to cross the Grand Essence Sea. Although many people went to Five Elements planet, when Ning Cheng returned to Broken Thatch Spirit City, there were still a lot of people in the city. Most of the Tao Transformation Holy Emperors didn't appear, but Ning Cheng didn't see any Tao Essence Holy Emperors. Ning Cheng went directly to the Broken Thatch Spirit City's Void Airship. Most of the Void Airships here were heading to the edge of the Grand Essence Sea. Moreover, the majority of the Void Airships hung under the name of the Chamber of Commerce. In other words, these Void Airships not only carried people but also did business. As one of the largest chambers of commerce here, Lobao Chamber of Commerce naturally had its own fleet. This time, Ning Cheng didn't choose the Lobao Chamber of Commerce. This Chamber of Commerce had left a bad impression on Ning Cheng. What's more, Ning Cheng still had a lot of five-element chaos chi on him. Ning Cheng chose the Sea Sky Pavilion Chamber of Commerce's airship. The Sea Sky Pavilion Chamber of Commerce wasn't much weaker than the Lobao Chamber of Commerce in this area. It's just that the Sea Sky Pavilion Chamber of Commerce's main business direction wasn't on the edge of the Grand Essence realm but in the Grand Essence Sea. Another point was that the Sea Sky Pavilion Chamber of Commerce's airship would set off in one day. The price to go from Broken Thatch Spirit City to the edge of the Grand Essence Sea was 2 million high-grade spirit crystals. But 2 million spirit crystals didn't mean much to Ning Cheng. For the rogue cultivators who struggled on the edge of the Grand Essence realm all year round, it was a huge sum of money. Moreover, 2 million spirit crystals was only for a middle-grade room. The top-grade room cost 3 million, while the lowest-grade room cost 1 million spirit crystals. Ning Cheng didn't choose the top-grade room or the lowest-grade room. Since it was only for a year, he paid 2 million spirit crystals and chose a middle-grade room. A day passed by quickly, and Ning Cheng found that the price of the ticket had increased after boarding the airship. In just one day, the price of a middle-grade room rose from 2 million to 3 million. Not only that, but more and more powerhouses came to board the airship. Ning Cheng didn't casually release his spiritual consciousness, nor did he inquire about the reason. He walked into his room and directly covered it with restrictions. Then, he wrote, "Do not disturb in seclusion" outside the room. He knew the reason for this. The cultivators who went to Five Elements Planet had returned. This time, because of him, many cultivators managed to escape from Five Elements Planet, and many of them managed to obtain 5-element Chaos Chi. Most likely, some of the people who increased the price to board the airship had a small amount of 5-element Chaos Chi. Once these 5-element Chaos Chi reached the Grand Essence Domain's Heaven Essence Sacred City, they would sell for a shocking price. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. With so many uninvited guests, this trip to the Grand Essence Sea would most likely turn into a mess. Unfortunately, he had no other choice. If he took the airship behind him, it would only cause more chaos. It might even attract the attention of that fellow from Five Elements Planet. Chapter 1027. Ning Cheng didn't stay in the room for long when the ship shook slightly. Ning Cheng breathed a sigh of relief. He finally set off. The airship's speed wasn't as fast as the Starry Sky Wheel, but it wasn't slow either. After confirming that he was far away from Broken Thatch Spirit City, Ning Cheng retracted his spiritual consciousness. He planned to set up some restrictions in the room and then cut out some of the messy things that had swallowed in his sea of consciousness. In Five Element Planet, to save his life, he only knew how to swallow the torrent of consciousness attacks. He didn't completely cut out the hidden dangers that he had swallowed and refined. In addition, he also wanted to go to the mysterious yellow bead to have a look. The mysterious yellow bead had also absorbed a lot of 5-element Chaos Chi this time and had undergone great changes. However, he didn't know if it could allow people other than him to enter. At this moment, the restriction at the doors suddenly stopped. Ning Cheng frowned. He had clearly hung a "Do Not Disturb in Seclusion" sign outside his room, yet someone still touched the restriction at his door. He swept out with his spiritual consciousness and found that it was just an eternal cultivator outside. Ning Cheng opened the restriction. He didn't believe that an eternal cultivator would dare to touch the restriction at his door. After opening the restriction, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out. Sure enough, a Tao Nourishment Holy Emperor and a Tao Transformation Holy Emperor were watching this place from a distance. This junior is afraid to disturb senior. It's because of the auction held on the Sea Heaven Pavilion's airship. This auction will have top-grade treasures. Senior is a distinguished guest on the Sea Heaven Pavilion's airship. Before the eternal level cultivator could finish his words, Ning Cheng slapped him across the face and sent him flying. At the same time, Ning Cheng roared, "Are you blind? Didn't you see the sign this sage hung outside? This is the first time. If anyone dares to disturb this sage, kill without mercy." After saying that, Ning Cheng raised his hand and changed the sign outside. Then, he quickly returned to the room and put up the restriction again. He didn't give the two people in the distance any chance at all. It was obvious that the two holy emperors wanted this eternal cultivator to open the door. Regardless of whether he went or not, regardless of his attitude, the two holy emperors would find an excuse to argue with him. Ning Cheng could guess their purpose. They wanted to see if he came from 5-element planet and if he had 5-element Chaos Chi on him. Therefore, he directly changed the sign on the door to, "In seclusion, if disturbed again, kill without mercy." If those two fellows dared to come after him again, he would kill them. If he didn't do something on the spaceship, there would be an endless stream of people trying to beat around the bush. When the two sage emperors in the distance saw Ning Cheng's actions, their expressions turned ugly. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor said, "A mere Tao Molding Divine Emperor is too cocky. We'll go ourselves." The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor shook his head. "Wait, he knows we're watching." In this situation, he still dared to do such a thing, which meant that he was not ordinary. Let's investigate his situation first before taking action. After Ning Cheng saw the two holy emperors leave the room, he continued to arrange defensive arrays and restrictions around the room. Maybe there was a Tao Essence Divine Emperor on this ship, but even if they offended him, he wasn't afraid. He would just run away. Half a day later, Ning Qing arranged the room as if it was made of iron. Unless there was someone whose array skills were far above his, it would be impossible to break into his room in a hurry. Ning Qing immediately took out the measureless gourd. Ever since the measureless gourd collected a lot of 5 elemental chaos chi, he hadn't had the time to check it. He didn't dare check it in Broken Thatch God City, but he didn't have to worry about it now. Taking out the measureless gourd, Ning Qing scanned it with his spiritual sense. Sure enough, Ning Qing couldn't help but mutter to himself in surprise. At this moment, there were a few more restrictions inside the measureless gourd. At the bottom, there was still a drop of 3,000 weak water. Then the 5 elemental chaos chi was also clearly separated. Each 5 elemental chaos chi occupied a space in an orderly manner. This thing was definitely no weaker than his 7 Bridges spirit art. Not only could it collect 5 elemental chaos chi, but it could also store them separately. Putting away the measureless gourd, Ning Qing started to recover his sea of consciousness. In 5 Elements Planet, he had swallowed any pill. Although it saved his life, there were still a lot of side effects. Even if it was a special grade pill, he couldn't take it like this. Therefore, he had to refine out some of the pill toxins hidden in his body. In addition, although his sea of consciousness had strengthened a lot, this enhancement did not come from his cultivation. Most of it came from devouring spiritual consciousness attacks. So far, with the help of the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pill, Ning Qing hadn't felt anything wrong. However, Ning Qing didn't dare to take it lightly. He always believed in his own point of view. That is, how much you pay, how much you get. There would never be love or hate for no reason. If cultivating spiritual consciousness was so easy, then he could just find an opponent to devour other people's spiritual consciousness. Why would he need to cultivate? Why would he go through all the trouble to find all kinds of cultivation resources? He wasn't the creator of the Dark Nether Devouring Spirit Scroll, but he had seen the fellow who was suspected to have created the Dark Nether Devouring Spirit Scroll. That fellow created the Dark Nether Devouring Spirit Scroll, but didn't he just struggle with his life essence soul? In the end, he still had to go through all the trouble to seize his body. There could be opportunities in the process of cultivation, but there was no such thing as cheating. Because of this point of view, Ning Qing still started to cut off the spiritual consciousness power devoured from his sea of consciousness without feeling anything wrong. A month later, Ning Qing completely cut off the spiritual consciousness power devouring from his sea of consciousness and sealed it into a bead with restrictions. Ning Qing knew how powerful this spiritual consciousness power was. He believed that if he blasted this bead out, even a Tao Essence Holy Emperor wouldn't be able to withstand it. Even if this bead was comparable to Lu Fenglin's Tao Splitting Bead, it wouldn't lose out. Lu Fenglin's Tao Splitting Bead still needed some time to activate, but his bead had been refined by the Dark Nether Devouring Spirit Scroll. Therefore, if he threw it out, he could activate it at any time. Perhaps it was a psychological effect, but after cutting off the spiritual consciousness power devoured by the Dark Nether Devouring Spirit Scroll, Ning Qing felt his sea of consciousness becoming clearer and more relaxed. Not only did his cultivation not decrease after cutting off the spiritual consciousness power, but it even improved a little. He wasn't too far away from the peak Tao sculpting realm. A month passed, and no one came to disturb him. Nevertheless, Ning Qing still didn't feel completely relieved. He set up a few more spiritual consciousness triggering restrictions before entering the true spirit world. Yan Ji, why aren't you cultivating? Ning Qing saw Yan Ji fiddling with flowers and plants in the true spirit world and quickly asked. When Yan Ji heard that Ning Qing no longer called her junior apprentice sister Ji, she looked even happier. She walked over and said softly, after I advanced to the eternal realm, I cultivated for a few months, but the results were minimal. I can only stabilize my cultivation, but it's still difficult for me to advance. Ning Qing immediately understood the reason and nodded. it should be because the laws of the true spirit world are too weak. Eternal realm cultivators have already condensed their own grand Tao laws. Staying here to cultivate would indeed make it difficult for you to make progress. I'm now on my way to the Grand Essence domain, and I'm afraid that there will be a war on the way. You can only stay here. Be careful. Yan Ji didn't ask Ning Cheng why there would be a war. She hadn't even reached the Tao sculpting realm, so she couldn't help Ning Cheng. I know. My mysterious yellow bead has obtained a lot of 5-element chaos chi. Now, I want to see if you can enter the mysterious yellow bead. If you can go in, the mysterious yellow bead's heaven and earth laws will definitely help you cultivate. After Ning Cheng finished, he put his arm around Yan Ji's slender waist, and with a flash, he entered the mysterious yellow bead from the true spirit world. Yan Ji looked at the beautiful world in front of her in amazement. Compared to the true spirit world, this place was a real paradise. Green mountains and clear waters, a gentle breeze caressing her face. In the distance, the endless sea stretched as far as the eye could see, and further away, the rising sun could be seen. The mountain peaks gathered, and the waves raged. There were no outsiders here except for her and Ning Cheng. What a beautiful, tall and dense tree. Yan Ji's gaze fell on a giant lush tree several thousand feet high in the distance. This giant tree looked like a big umbrella that covered the surrounding space. Did it really give birth to the sun, moon, and stars? Ning Cheng also looked at the rising sun in the distance with excitement. He could clearly feel that the heaven and earth laws in the mysterious yellow bead had become more complete. Although the rising sun was still weak, it showed that the laws here had started to improve. That's right, that tree had become so lush. When he sent the half-wood origin bead into the mysterious yellow bead, Chasing Bull had planted that tree. But at that time, it had withered. But now, it had come to life. Yan Ji, the laws here aren't any weaker than the Grand Essence realm. You can cultivate here, huh? Ning Cheng only spoke halfway when he suddenly realized something. Yan Ji hadn't been sent out yet, which meant that his mysterious yellow bead had become an independent world. Even if this world wasn't perfect yet, it could still allow people to live here. Yan Ji also realized something and turned to look at Ning Cheng affectionately. If she could, she would rather live here with Ning Cheng for the rest of her life. Ning Cheng felt pleasantly surprised and was just about to send Chasing Bull and the exploding golden wasps into the mysterious yellow bead when Yan Ji gently wrapped her arms around his waist. Previously, because Yan Ji couldn't cultivate in the mysterious yellow bead, Ning Cheng had driven Chasing Bull out. He feared that Yan Ji would feel a little lonely in the true spirit world, so he asked Chasing Bull to help her in the true spirit world. At this moment, Ning Cheng forgot to call Chasing Bull in. At this moment, all sounds became superfluous. Yan Ji's eyes gradually blurred. At this moment, everything became secondary, only staying together. But her blurred eyes quickly sobered up and looked at Ning Cheng in doubt. She felt a killing intent coming from Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng patted Yan Ji's slender waist and spoke with a soft voice. Someone came looking for trouble again. I'm going out. You can cultivate here and bring Chasing Bull and the exploding golden wasps in. You can also move the true spirit world's medicine garden here. Although the mysterious yellow bead hasn't evolved into a complete world of laws yet, one day in the future, I can gather the wood origin bead and perfect the world inside the mysterious yellow bead. Chapter 1028. Ning Cheng left the mysterious yellow bead and returned to his room. The killing intent on his face intensified. If it wasn't for his powerful restriction, his room would have been opened already. A month ago, the two divine emperors who ordered an eternal realm cultivator to touch Ning Cheng's room restriction were now outside Ning Cheng's room. The Tao Nourishment divine emperor broke the outermost restriction of Ning Cheng's room. The Tao Actualization divine emperor didn't do anything. From the looks of it, he was holding the fort. Ning Qing opened the room restriction. He didn't wait for the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor to speak. Space Law cooperated with his domain and pressed out. After wrapping the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor with space, Ning Qing punched without hesitation. It was an ordinary punch, but it contained time law. There was no setting sun nor dusk intent realm. It was a pure time law spirit art. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor didn't expect Ning Qing, a Tao Molding Divine Emperor, to dare to sneak attack him without saying a word. By the time he reacted, Ning Qing's space domain had already suppressed him. He didn't even have a chance to speak before Ning Qing's punch arrived. Time stopped. Perhaps it was just one breath. But to this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, it felt like a lifetime. Thud. Ning Qing's punch landed between the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's eyebrows. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's body instantly collapsed. His essence spirit just seeped out and was instantly annihilated by Ning Qing's fist intent. This breath was indeed a lifetime for him. Ning Qing didn't even give him a chance to fight back before killing him. Ning Qing's cultivation level was infinitely close to peak Tao molding. Facing a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor who didn't even put him in his eyes, Ning Qing suddenly punched and instantly killed him. Only after Ning Qing killed this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor did the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor react and yelled in shock, "You dare to kill?" Ning Qing wouldn't answer this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. He waved his hand and a huge axe appeared in his hand. The next moment, the huge axe hacked towards this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Axe rune killing intent tore through the surrounding space and swept this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor in. Only now did this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor react. Ning Qing not only dared to kill people, but also dared to kill him. Rumble. Ning Qing's axe rune clashed with the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's magic artifact. God Essence exploded, creating a rumbling sound. If not for Ning Qing having some misgivings, the surrounding restrictions would have already exploded into pieces. Ning Qing sighed in pity. A Tao Actualization Divine Emperor wasn't someone he could sneak attack. Stop. An extremely powerful force crushed over. Then, this voice reached Ning Qing and the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's ears. Ning Qing did not continue to attack, he stopped. Although it was a Tao Essence powerhouse, Ning Qing knew that the gap between him and a Tao Essence powerhouse wasn't just 1 or 2 points. If he made another move, it would mean that he was being unreasonable. After killing a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, he finally vented some of his anger. This kind of commotion not only alarmed the primordial Tao powerhouses, but also most of the cultivators on the flying ship. Many of them swarmed over and gathered around to watch the show. Deacon Xia, this person dared to kill my friend on the flying ship. He's not putting Sea Heaven Pavilion in his eyes at all. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor quickly put away his magic artifact and bowed. He thought that Ning Qing would resist, but he didn't expect Ning Qing to be this strong. However, he did not think that Ning Qing's strength would be so formidable. Not only did he resist, but he also easily killed his companion. Before, he thought that Ning Qing was only a Tao Molding Divine Emperor. With 2 people far stronger than Ning Qing definitely wouldn't dare to say anything. But the truth was the opposite. Now that the Deacon of Sea Heaven Pavilion's flying ship had come, he probably couldn't hide this anymore. It was a yellow-robed man with a medium build. Although he had a faint bloody aura, Ning Qing was sure that he was a Tao Essence powerhouse. Some of the more powerful Saint Emperors could even merge with their surroundings. There weren't many Tao Essence Divine Emperors like this yellow-robed man who still had bloody killing intent. You dare to kill people on my Sea Heaven Pavilion's flying ship? The yellow-robed man said as a powerful Tao Essence aura crushed towards Ning Qing. Feeling the powerful aura, Ning Qing took a deep breath and didn't try to resist it. He wasn't as strong as the others. If he tried to resist, he would have to escape from this flying ship. Deacon Xia, a month ago, I hung the words "Do not disturb" in seclusion outside my room, but these two still broke my restriction and called me out. I didn't care and just replaced the sign outside my room with a new one. Ning Qing pointed to the sign on the side. The words on the sign were still very clear: "In seclusion, if you are disturbed again, you will die." I didn't expect these two to dare to break my room's restriction again. If I didn't have some means, I would have been captured by them. I paid God crystals to get on the ship. Do you think they can break into my room just because they want to? I believe Sea Heaven Pavilion will give me an explanation. After hearing Ning Cheng's words, almost everyone looked at the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor with contempt. It was a big taboo to break someone's cave home's restriction and disturb them when they were in seclusion. Plus, these two broke Ning Cheng's room's restriction twice in a row. Many people admired Ning Cheng. According to the unwritten rules, if a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor broke a Tao Molding Divine Emperor's room's restriction, the Tao Molding Divine Emperor wouldn't resist. In fact, Tao Molding Divine Emperor couldn't resist a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. This Tao Molding Divine Emperor not only resisted but also killed one. This even attracted the Sea Heaven Pavilion's deacon. The yellow-robed deacon glanced coldly at this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Ning Qing killing people on Sea Heaven Pavilion's flying ship was a taboo. However, the fact that the other party had dared to forcefully break the restriction on someone else's room on the Sea Sky Pavilion's flying ship was even more of a taboo. If the other party didn't resist, then he would break it. But if the other party resisted and everyone on the ship knew about it, then he would have to be punished. Deacon Xia, we just want to invite this friend to talk about business. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's heart went cold. If he knew that Ning Cheng, a Tao Molding Divine Emperor, dared to do this, he definitely wouldn't have come. Breaking the rules of the Ocean Sky Pavilion. The yellow-robed Dao Yuan's tone was ice-cold and carried a sharp killing intent. Everyone knew that this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was dead for sure due to his bloody qi. Before the yellow-robed manager attacked, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor quickly sound transmissioned, "Manager Xia, please have mercy. I know where the 5-element chaos source is." He could only hope that the yellow-robed deacon would give him some time to escape after he mentioned the chaos origin of the 5 elements. Unfortunately, the yellow-robed attendant's hand only paused for a moment before he reached out. He has. The early-stage Tao Transformation Cultivator only managed to say a few words before boundless divine essence pressure came crashing down. The yellow-robed deacon blasted the early-stage Tao Transformation Cultivator into scraps. The surrounding people were silent, not because this deacon had killed an early-stage Tao Transformation Cultivator, but because they had witnessed the true strength of a second-step Tao Validation Cultivator. This was many times more powerful than Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Ning Cheng's heart sank slightly, he did not feel relaxed at all. Before the early-stage Tao Transformation Cultivator died, he had sound transmissioned. Because his spirit sense was locked onto the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, Ning Cheng did not know the contents of the sound transmission, but he could feel the low ripples of the sound transmission. If this early-stage Tao Actualization Divine Emperor wanted to send a sound transmission message to Manager Xia. Manager Xia's hand only paused for a moment before he killed the early-stage Tao Actualization Divine Emperor again. Ning Cheng was not sure about the contents of the early-stage Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's sound transmission message, but he had guessed what the early-stage Tao Actualization Divine Emperor said before he died. This early-stage Tao Actualization Divine Emperor might have said that he had the chaos origin of the 5 elements in order to survive. This early-stage Tao Actualization Divine Emperor knew that he had the chaos origin of the 5 elements. However, Manager Xia would definitely believe it. Because he believed it, he killed the early-stage Tao Actualization Divine Emperor without hesitation. He was afraid that Deacon Xia's next target would be Ning Cheng. It seemed that in this battle, there would only be one winner, and that was Deacon Xia. Ning Cheng's guess was right. This early-stage Tao actualization Divine Emperor wanted to use the news of the chaos origin of the five elements to survive. In fact, Manager Xia had guessed at the moment he said the sound transmission message. Even if he didn't say who might have the chaos origin of the five elements, Manager Xia guessed that it was Ning Cheng. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to kill the early-stage Tao actualization Divine Emperor and put away the early-stage Tao actualization Divine Emperor's belongings. Then, he stared at Ning Cheng. Someone touched the restriction in your room and indeed violated the Sea Heaven Pavilion's rules. Therefore, I killed this person. You killed someone on the Sea Heaven Pavilion's flying ship, which also violated the Sea Heaven Pavilion's rules. Since you were forced to do it, you just have to explain it to me. As expected, he wanted to take him away. Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't go with Manager Xiao. Once he went, he would never have a chance to come back. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and said, "Of course. After I tidy up the broken restriction in the room, I will go with Manager Xiao." Manager Xia smiled slightly. Sure. Ning Cheng only had Tao modeling cultivation. Even if he killed a Tao nourishment Divine Emperor with a sneak attack, it wasn't enough in his eyes. Manager Xia didn't care about stalling for time at all. The reason why he guessed that the Tao actualization Divine Emperor he killed wasn't lying was because if it was an ordinary matter, a Tao actualization Divine Emperor wouldn't dare to provoke the Sea Heaven Pavilion's rules and destroy the restriction in someone else's room. Although there were many such things, once it was exposed, it would be akin to courting death. Facing a Tao essence Divine Emperor, Ning Cheng knew that he could only leave. He chose to enter the room to prepare to leave. He still had a bead in his hand. This bead's power was formed by the spiritual consciousness torrent. Even if he couldn't kill Manager Xia, it should be enough for him to escape. Ning Cheng had only walked into the room for a dozen breaths when a roar came from the bow of the flying ship. Manager Xia, who was waiting for Ning Cheng, changed his expression. His figure flashed and appeared at the bow of the flying ship. The flying ship was attacked by demonic beasts in the Grand Essence demonic vein. The news instantly spread throughout the flying ship. Facing the attack of the demonic beasts in the Grand Essence demonic vein, no one dared to stay in the room. As the many cultivators swarmed onto the deck, Ning Cheng naturally followed the crowd and rushed onto the deck. He originally wanted to escape from the flying ship. Now that he had the opportunity, why would he be polite? The flying ship floated between the endless mountains and forests. Sure enough, it was surrounded by demonic beasts. However, these demonic beasts didn't attack immediately. They were here for the five-element chaos chi. Ning Cheng saw that these demonic beasts didn't attack immediately. How could he not understand? Chapter 1029. We've already negotiated with the Grand Essence Demon Vein to pass through this route. Every year, we pay a lot of spirit crystals and various weapons. Why did your Grand Essence Demon Vein suddenly block our airship? What's the meaning of this? A gray-haired man on the airship said in a deep voice. Deacon Gorge, who had just rushed up, was standing next to him. Ning Cheng noticed that this gray-haired man's cultivation was higher than Deacon Gorge's. Most likely, he was at the late-stage Tao Essence realm. Standing in front of these demonic beasts was a man with a tiger's head and a human's body. He laughed and said, "I'll tell you the truth. I came here privately. I heard that you have a lot of five-element chaos chi on your airship. I happen to lack it recently, so give me half of your five-element chaos chi and we'll leave immediately." I don't know about this thing. The gray-haired Tao Essence Divine Emperor refused the tiger-headed demon's request without hesitation. The tiger-headed demon snorted, "If you don't agree, then don't blame us for searching your ship by force." This time, Ning Cheng didn't even wait for the gray-haired Tao Essence Divine Emperor to answer and sent a voice transmission to the tiger-headed demon. "You're just an idiot and you dare to ask for five-element chaos chi. Not to mention that Deacon Gorge has a lot of five-element chaos chi, even this father has a lot. Do you think a beast like you deserves it? Our Deacon Gorge is a Tao Essence Divine Emperor and likes to eat tiger's penis. If you don't get lost, don't blame this father for cutting off your penis and stewing it for Deacon Gorge. Even if Ning Cheng had a starry sky sea of consciousness, no matter how powerful his spiritual consciousness was, the two Tao Essence Divine Emperors on the Sea Sky Pavilion's airship would immediately know about it. Ning Cheng also knew that he had to provoke them and start the battle ahead of time. Because the moment the tiger-headed demon appeared, Deacon Gorge's spiritual consciousness locked onto him. Most likely, Deacon Gorge already had a plan. Once the battle started, Deacon Gorge would kill him first and then take his things. He had to create an opportunity for himself to escape. He couldn't wait for the battle to start and then find a way to escape. Ning Cheng didn't want to take this risk. The moment Ning Cheng sent the voice transmission, the two's gazes fell on Ning Cheng at the same time. Before the two of them could question Ning Cheng, the tiger-headed demon roared, and a blade light containing the aura of laws slammed into the Sea Heaven Pavilion airship's restrictions. Just as the tiger head was about to make a move, the rest of the demonic beasts rushed forward. How could the airship's restrictions withstand the simultaneous attacks of so many demonic beasts? The barrier cracked with a crack. None of the cultivators on the ship panicked. They were all looking for an exit to escape. Despite negotiating with the Grand Essence Demon Vein, it wasn't the first time that the Grand Essence Demon Vein's demonic beasts intercepted the airship passing through the Grand Essence Demon Vein. As long as they were in such a spaceship, they would be mentally prepared. Moreover, this time, it involved the chaos origin of the five elements, so this battle was already destined. Naturally, it was best to leave as soon as possible. At this moment, the gray-haired Tao Essence Divine Emperor didn't have time to question Ning Cheng. He took out his magic treasure and attacked the tiger-head beast. Deacon Gorge and gray-haired Tao Essence Divine Emperor attacked at the same time, but his target wasn't the beast. The moment these monstrous beasts blew open the restrictions, he immediately rushed towards Ning Cheng. Although there were many demonic beasts here, if everyone was determined to escape in all directions, these demonic beasts would only be able to stop a small number of them. Ning Cheng had provoked the tiger-headed monster, so that he could escape. Now that the battle started, Ning Cheng immediately avoided the direction of Deacon Gorge and rushed towards the middle of the many demonic beasts. Even if there were countless demonic beasts blocking his way, they were just a group of cannon fodder in the eyes of Deacon Gorge. Seeing Deacon Gorge rushing over, Ning Cheng snorted. Sure enough, he had been eyeing this father for a long time. With a wave of his hand, he shot out dozens of time wheels and activated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. A faint golden light flashed, and when Deacon Gorge's palm caught Ning Cheng's shadow, Ning Cheng had already disappeared from the crowd of demonic beasts. This time, Ning Cheng was even more direct. He brought out the starry sky wheel and instantly disappeared into the depths of the Grand Essence mountain range. Ning Cheng soon discovered that Deacon Gorge hadn't given up on him. Instead, he brought out a weapon and chased after him. This made Ning Cheng feel that he had made a mistake. He had forgotten to tell the tiger-headed monster at the Deacon Gorge who wanted to eat the tiger's penis was the yellow-robed man. Ning Cheng didn't worry about Deacon Gorge chasing after him alone. When he was still an eternal starry sky emperor, he could escape from the pursuit of Man Huishan, who had reached the full-circle Tao essence realm. Now that he was almost at the peak of Tao sculpting realm, how could he fear the pursuit of an early-stage Tao essence holy emperor? As long as he couldn't tear through the void in front of him, this Deacon Gorge wouldn't be able to catch up to him. Sure enough, after Ning Cheng brought out the starry sky wheel, Deacon Gorge started to fall further and further behind. Deacon Gorge's face turned gloomy, and he became even more convinced that Ning Cheng had the five-element chaos chi. Even if Ning Cheng didn't have the five-element chaos chi, this flight-type weapon definitely wasn't simple. He started to drive his flight-type weapon crazily. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, the distance between him and Ning Cheng kept increasing. After confirming that he had shaken off Deacon Gorge, Ning Qing didn't continue to run away. He even put away the starry sky wheel. First, Ning Qing didn't know which direction to escape in, and second, he sensed more and more powerful auras in the depths of the mountain range. Once he reached the lair of that powerful spirit beast, he would only be courting death. Ning Qing carefully concealed his aura and traces, then took out the locale map he had bought and carefully identified it. Unfortunately, the locale map only contained a general direction and didn't contain any starry sky coordinates. Now that he was trapped in the depths of the Grand Essence Demon Vein, he couldn't even distinguish between right and wrong. It looks like it would be a long time before they could get out of this place, Ning Qing sighed, and directly looked for a secluded place to hide. For the next few days, Ning Qing stayed in place and observed his surroundings. He didn't want to run around like a headless fly before determining the right direction. On the fourth day of hiding, Ning Qing felt a terrifying spatial fluctuation. In just a few breaths, this spatial fluctuation reached a place not far from him. Boom! A rainbow light shot out. This rainbow light split open a several thousand feet long gully 10 miles away from Ning Qing. At this time, Ning Qing saw it clearly. It was a fight between two people. On one side was the Deacon Gorge, and on the other side was a giant lizard. Looking at the fight, the Deacon Gorge had the upper hand. However, his clothes were tattered, and his aura was in a mess. Obviously, this upper hand didn't come without a price. Ning Qing hid himself and didn't dare to move. He was glad that he had made the right choice. If he had kept running away, he probably wouldn't have ended up as well as the Deacon Gorge. Although he had the upper hand, the Deacon Gorge's eyes were still filled with anxiety. He knew that the longer he fought, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Poof! The Deacon Gorge's weapon once again slammed into the giant lizard. This time, the giant lizard suffered serious injuries and fell from the sky, smashing a small mountain into pieces. However, the Deacon Gorge didn't come down to collect his spoils. Instead, he chose a direction and instantly escaped. Ning Qing wondered why this Deacon Gorge had such a high style. He didn't even want to collect the giant lizard that he was about to kill. Since this giant lizard could fight against a Tao Essence Holy Emperor, it must have a very high level. It could definitely fetch a good price. An angry flood dragon roar sounded out, which made Ning Qing understand. The Deacon Gorge knew that a flood dragon was coming, so he didn't dare to stay. Sure enough, a moment later, Ning Qing saw a giant black shadow directly cross space and rush towards the Deacon Gorge. Ning Qing carefully revealed himself, and then followed behind this giant black flood dragon. He didn't want to be a fisherman. In fact, Ning Qing also knew that he didn't have enough strength to do so. Ning Qing just wanted to follow it and find a way out. The Deacon Gorge had a map of the Grand Essence Demon Vein. If he followed it, he could definitely find the way out. Half a day later, Ning Qing once again felt an earth-shattering battle. This kind of battle caused the surrounding space to tremble continuously. During the process of the battle between the two of them, the ground was turned into a crisscrossing ravine. Ning Qing, who was following from a distance, understood that the Deacon Gorge had fought many battles in the past few days. The battle with the giant lizard and the flood dragon was just one of the many battles he had fought. Ning Qing felt a burst of joy in his heart. Who told you to chase after this father? If it was possible, Ning Qing wanted to go and help the flood dragon. Fortunately, Ning Qing knew that he absolutely couldn't go. He couldn't intervene with his current strength. Taking a step back, even if he could intervene and help the flood dragon, he wouldn't end up well. The Deacon Gorge had consumed too much energy, and Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness was strong. At this time, he deliberately hid in the distance to watch the battle. The flood dragon's strength shouldn't have reached the Tao Essence realm, but the demonic beast's strength made it hard for it to fight against the seriously injured Deacon Gorge. Boom boom. Bang, The flood dragon and the Deacon Gorge's lorelated spirit techniques clashed again. Ning Cheng, who was hiding in the distance, understood that the Deacon Gorge was going all out this time. Blood splashed out from the Deacon Gorge's waist. Ning Cheng clearly saw the flood dragon's tail knife cut through the Deacon Gorge's waist. At the same time, the Deacon Gorge's umbrella artifact turned into a rainbow and passed through the flood dragon's body. It also rolled up a bloody mist. The flood dragon hissed, turned around, and instantly fled. The Deacon Gorge's face was as pale as paper. Although his body quickly healed, he still couldn't stop the loss of his Dao charm. Generally, as long as a starry sky cultivator reached the undead realm, they would be able to regrow their limbs. Once they reached the life and death realm, they would be able to condense their body. However, all Dao-confirming sacred emperors knew how important the corporeal body was to a cultivator. Once the corporeal body suffered too much damage, even if it recovered, it would have a strong impact on the Dao charm. On the contrary, cultivators who hadn't reached the Dao-confirming realm didn't have much impact on their corporeal body. At this time, the Deacon Gorge's body had almost been cut in half by the flood dragon, and his Dao charm aura had become chaotic. Ning Cheng could see everything clearly from the side. He knew that if he wanted to kill the Deacon Gorge and get the map, this might be his only chance. Not wanting to miss this opportunity, Ning Cheng did not hesitate to rush out, as he raised his hand and a black arrow silently floated in the air. Chapter 1030. It's you. Deacon Gorge immediately recognized Ning Cheng, and his eyes twitched as his gaze fell on the black arrow. The black arrow vibrated in the air, and a five-colored light flashed around the black arrow. At the same time, a five-colored bow appeared, and endless killing intent swept out and locked onto Deacon Xia. Stop! Deacon Xia flipped his hand, and a jade strip appeared in his hand. This is the jade strip with the map to get out. If you dare to use this arrow, everyone will die here. There is no way out, and no one under Dao Essence will survive in the Grand Essence mountain range. Ning Cheng's heart sank. He wasn't shocked that Deacon Xia knew what he wanted in an instant, but he was shocked that Deacon Xia could still move after being locked on by his five-colored star splitter arrow. Since he obtained the five-colored star splitter arrow, Deacon Xia was the only one who could move under his arrow's lock. Although his arrow's intent hadn't completely swept out, his current cultivation was much stronger than when he used the five-colored star splitter arrow. The jade strip is for you. Deacon Xia threw the jade strip towards Ning Cheng almost at the same time as he finished speaking. The jade strip didn't have any restrictions on it, so Ning Cheng could clearly see the contents of the jade strip. It indeed showed the route out of the Grand Essence Demon Vein. Ning Cheng had to control the five-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent. Otherwise, the killing intent would shatter the jade strip. Fortunately, he had just brought out the five-colored star splitter arrow, so the killing intent wasn't enough to devour him. Otherwise, he would have suffered serious injuries if he tried to retract the killing intent. Bang! The moment Ning Cheng controlled the five-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent, a light flashed around Deacon Xia. After the light faded, Deacon Xia disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng raised his hand and put away the five-colored star splitter arrow. He understood that Deacon Xia had already planned this. Once he tried to protect the jade strip, Deacon Xia would have taken the opportunity to escape. Deacon Xia would rather leave than fight him, which showed that Ning Cheng had chosen the right time. Deacon Xia was indeed seriously injured. At the same time, Deacon Xia chose the right time. If he had taken out the jade strip a few breaths later, he probably wouldn't have had the chance to do so. Ning Cheng guessed that after Deacon Gorge recognized the five-colored star splitter arrow, he reacted before the five-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent completely locked onto him. However, Ning Cheng did not feel even half a bit happy. In a hurry, he believed that the jade strip was real. However, He failed to kill the deacon and ended up exposing his 5-colored star splitter arrow. The only consolation was that he was in disguise. He used his spiritual sense to scan the jade strip. There was a clear map of the route, and there were even coordinates. The closest location to him was not far away. This time, Ning Cheng directly brought out the starry sky wheel and followed the route marked on the jade strip at full speed. Without any direction, Ning Cheng did not dare to bring out the starry sky wheel and move forward at full speed for fear of being surrounded. Now that he had a direction, he naturally wouldn't have any misgivings. With his speed, even if there was a top-notch demonic beast chasing after him, it might not be able to catch up to him. Since Deacon Gorge had given him the map, Deacon Gorge would definitely know about it. Once the Gorge Deacon recovered from his injuries and set up an ambush in front of him, he would definitely be in deep trouble. Right now, he could only take advantage of the fact that Deacon Gorge was still recovering to leave as soon as possible. As Ning Cheng expected, he did not encounter the Gorge Deacon along the way. Even if some demonic beasts tried to stop him along the way, Ning Cheng's crazy speed left them behind. After flying at the fastest speed for nearly 9 months, the starry sky wheel finally rushed out of the Grand Essence Demon vein. The Grand Essence Sea appeared within Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. Sure enough, it was boundless. His spiritual consciousness couldn't even sweep a corner of it. Ning Cheng breathed in a sigh of relief and put away the starry sky wheel. He then changed his appearance to that of a bearded rogue cultivator. From the Grand Essence Demon vein to the edge of the Grand Essence Sea, it was a desolate area tens of thousands of miles away. There were no demonic beasts or cultivators. Ning Cheng had almost reached the edge of the Grand Essence Sea when he saw a defensive Grand Array. 4 cultivators stood guard at the entrance of the Grand Array. Above the defensive array, 4 words Spirit Sea City were written. This made Ning Cheng feel relieved. He feared that he wouldn't be able to find anyone and wouldn't know where to teleport to the Grand Essence domain. He didn't know how many years it would take for him to cross the Grand Essence Sea. Moreover, he might not even be able to cross it. The 4 cultivators guarding the entrance looked at Ning Cheng with some doubts. It was rare for someone to cross the Grand Essence Demon vein and come here alone. Several Dao friends, is this the teleportation array to the Grand Essence domain? Ning Cheng walked to the entrance of the defensive array and cupped his fists before speaking up in a polite manner. Among the 4 cultivators guarding the entrance, the highest cultivation was in the Eternal Realm. Seeing Ning Cheng acting so politely, they quickly bowed and replied, "Yes. The first time you enter the Spirit Sea City, you need to pay 10,000 high-rank spirit crystals. But you only need to pay 100 spirit crystals each time. There is a teleportation tower in the Spirit Sea City, and the teleportation tower has a special teleportation array to the Grand Essence domain." The few people understood that Ning Cheng's words indicated that this was his first time here. Ning Cheng felt happy. He didn't say anything and paid 10,000 spirit crystals in exchange for a jade talisman before entering the defensive array. He had sneak attacked Deacon Gorge before. Therefore, Ning Cheng wanted to leave as soon as possible. He wasn't sure if Deacon Gorge had sent any news here, but he guessed that Deacon Gorge would be here. But according to his guesses, even if Deacon Gorge sent a message here, not everyone would know about it. After entering the defensive array, Ning Cheng realized that this was a seaside city with rows of merchant buildings and makeshift markets. There were many cultivators coming and going. Although it couldn't compare to the bustling sacred city, it wasn't any worse than broken thatch Spirit City. Ning Cheng could clearly see the 3 words teleportation tower from afar. Ning Cheng wasn't in the mood to go anywhere else and quickly walked towards the teleportation tower. Wait. A Dao sculpting powerhouse stopped Ning Cheng from entering the teleportation tower. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, "I want to teleport to the Grand Essence domain. Why are you stopping me?" The Dao sculpting cultivator cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng, "Dao friend, please forgive me. Due to various reasons, the teleportation tower won't be open to the public for 3 months, and we can't send you to the Grand Essence domain. Ning Cheng's heart tightened, and he quickly asked, why? The Tao sculpting Holy Emperor smiled and said, not only the teleportation tower, but also the Spirit Sea City's defensive array. No one is allowed to go out for 3 months. Of course, you can come in. But friend, you don't have to worry. It's been more than 2 months. In less than half a month, the teleportation tower will open. After listening to the Tao sculpting Holy Emperor's words, Ning Cheng understood what was going on. This was definitely the work of that Deacon Gorge. That Deacon Gorge would definitely arrive here within half a month. This fellow's calculations were quite accurate. He estimated the time it would take for him to arrive here, which was why he closed the teleportation tower for 3 months. Ning Cheng felt sure that this Deacon Gorge would be guarding the teleportation array to the Grand Essence domain 3 months later. No wonder he didn't see anyone outside the Spirit Sea City. It turned out that they had all been restricted. In other words, even if he wanted to go out now, he couldn't. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath, cupped his fists and said, "This Tao friend, may I ask where the Spirit Sea City's city master is? Is he in the city master's mansion? I'm a core disciple of the River Luo sacred sect. I have an urgent matter to attend to." Just as he spoke about his origins, Ning Cheng immediately shut his mouth. No matter how far the River Luo sacred sect was from here, the Pil Sacred River Luo sacred sect was still one of the top 10 sects in the Grand Essence realm. Even a primordial essence Holy Emperor from the River Luo sacred sect could easily make the Spirit Sea City suffer. Hearing Ning Cheng's name, the Tao sculpting Holy Emperor's expression suddenly changed. He quickly replied, "City Master Yu is in the City Master's mansion." Ning Cheng had already seen the City Master's mansion when he first arrived. It was not far from the teleportation tower. Without waiting for the other party to continue, Ning Cheng thanked him before turning around and walking towards the City Master's mansion. After half an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng sat in the reception room of the City Master's mansion. This was thanks to his identity as a disciple of the River Luo sacred sect. The Spirit Sea City's city master was called Yuxing. He was a middle-aged man with a strong water-attributed Tao charm aura. Ning Cheng could feel that his cultivation wasn't any weaker than the Deacon Gorge. "Are you a disciple of the River Luo sacred sect?" Yuxing stared at Ning Cheng and asked in a deep voice. Ning Cheng replied in a neither arrogant nor humble manner, "Yes, I'm from the River Luo sacred sect." Without waiting for Ning Cheng to continue, Yuxing waved his hand, "You don't need to explain to me which disciple you are. I just happen to have a disciple of the River Luo sacred sect here. I'll let you meet him to see if you're telling the truth or not." After Yuxing finished speaking, he raised his hand and threw out a message. Hearing this, Ning Cheng's heart turned cold. He didn't expect his luck to be so bad. There was actually a disciple of the River Luo sacred sect here. He was ready to take out Guahauga's identity card if Yuxing asked him to take out the evidence. Guahauga died in his hands, so he naturally had the identity card with him. But now that there was someone from the River Luo sacred sect here, Ning Cheng naturally couldn't pretend to be one. Yuxing's spiritual consciousness had completely locked onto him. Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't move. Once he dared to escape, Yuxing would immediately kill him. This time, the Grand Essence Domain attaches great importance to the appearance of Planet 5 elements at the edge of the Grand Essence realm. Most of the sects have sent people to check it out. River Luo sacred sect is one of the top sects in the Grand Essence realm. Yet, they sent 2 disciples to check it out. Yuxing chuckled. He had already guessed that Ning Cheng was an impostor. If he really was a disciple from the River Luo sacred sect, how could he not come out from the teleportation array but from outside the Deep Sea City's defensive array? Ning Cheng showed a slight smile but didn't answer Yuxing's words. Instead, he anxiously tried to think of a way. Unfortunately, no matter how many ways he came up with, the gap between him and Yu Xing's strength was insurmountable. With Yu Xing's cultivation as a primordial holy emperor, he could kill him in seconds. How could he resist? "City Lord Yu, were you looking for me?" A crisp voice arrived, and a delicate and refined female cultivator appeared outside the guest room. Ning Qing felt ecstatic when he saw this female cultivator. It was Kong Ning. Kong Ning was already an early-stage Dao sculpting holy emperor. After seeing Kong Ning, Ning Qing immediately wanted to speak. He wanted to remind Kong Ning that he was from the River Luo sacred sect. But then Ning Qing found that he couldn't make a sound. The restrictions in Yu Xing's room had locked down the surrounding sound transmission space. Unless his spiritual consciousness forcibly broke through the restrictions, he wouldn't be able to speak. Yu Xing saw Kong Ning come in and said with a smile, "Yes, this Dao friend said that he's from the River Luo sacred sect. I thought you two were from the same sect, so I helped introduce you." "He's from the River Luo sacred sect." Kong Ning glanced at Ning Qing and asked in doubt. "You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.